Good evening. It is September the 23rd, 2025. We're here at the Hollister School District boardroom about to begin our board meeting. So do we have, let's see, it's called the meeting to order. It is now 5 o'clock. Do we have any public comments for closed session?
I don't have any.
Nothing on the phone?
And there's nothing on the phone.
Okay, sounds good. So roll call. Trustee Toasty. Oh,
Here.
you're here. Yes. Trustee Rios?
Here.
Trustee Martinez?
Here.
And Trustee Gress?
Here.
And I'm here as well. We're all here, and our superintendent, Erica Sanchez, is here. So do I have a motion to convene the closed session?
I make a motion that we convene to closed session.
Second?
Roll call vote. Trustee Toasty?
Aye.
Trustee Rios?
Aye.
Trustee Martinez?
Aye.
Trustee Gress?
Aye.
And I'm an aye as well. So we will now at 5:01. Is that 5:01? Yeah. 5:02.
Close enough.
It looks like 5:02 up there. Convened in closed session. Evening, everybody. It is September the 23rd, 2025, and we're about to start the board meeting for the Hollister School District. It is 6:04 p.m. and I'd like to call the meeting to order with the flag salute. Shall we stand, please?
Ready, salute.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, and tonight we have community and staff recognition.
We have Principal Ken Woods from Calaveras and AAA here tonight to recognize.
Wow, that was so fast.
Yeah,
Thank
we
you.
are efficient.
Very efficient.
And I'm going to call our amazing office manager up,
Aw.
Ms. Sandra Lopez, who is there in everything we do. We're on. Okay. Good evening, everybody. I'm Ken Woods, principal of Calaveras and the Accelerated Achievement Academy. Hello, President O'Connor, trustees, Superintendent Sanchez, Assistant Superintendent Ward, members of the cabinet, and our gigantic audience this evening. Thank you guys all for being here. Thank you for this opportunity to recognize and celebrate some of our incredible team members at Calaveras and AAA. They go above and beyond each day to support our students, our school community, and each other. It doesn't look like we got everybody here, but we'll say their name anyhow. We prepared some awards for them. And we're going to ask that you guys come up. There's only two of you, so the spotlight's going to be on you. Our instructional assistants, Gina Renteria, not here today, Sandy Zuniga, Karina Caceres, Martha Tafoya, Crystal Cooper, yay, come on, Crystal, and Rocio Grijalva. So these amazing team members are in every classroom, from TK through 3rd grade, providing valuable intervention and support. They're a huge part of our early literacy program, giving students the tools and confidence they need to become readers. Their work is foundational to our students' success. And if you were to venture in the classroom and not know anybody in there, you might not know who the teacher was and who the instructional assistant was, because they work just like that in the classroom. It's amazing. They're trained and they do fantastic work. And our paraprofessional that we want to recognize tonight is Julia Stevens. She's not here either. She works closely with our students with exceptionalities, giving them individualized attention, encouragement, and support. Her dedication ensures that every child has the opportunity to learn, grow, thrive, and feel safe. So thank you, Julia. And last but certainly not least, our amazing health clerk, Stephanie Camacho. So whether it's a scraped knee, a headache, or just a student who needs a little extra care and comfort, she always knows how to help. She is truly masterful at fixing boo-boos, big and small. Her kindness and calm presence make our students feel safe and cared for. Thank you all, you guys. So thank you again for allowing us the opportunity to honor these outstanding staff members tonight. We're grateful for each of these team members. Their care, their commitment, their daily efforts make a lasting difference in the lives of our students and families. So please join me in giving them one big final round of applause.
Yeah.
You guys want to, take a picture.
Okay.
Oh, they want a picture.
Picture opportunity.
Okay, are we opening our envelope or not?
Sandra, you should get up here too.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, maybe.
We can squish together.
Okay.
Can you get it?
In front of us?
See the.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Come on, Sandra.
I'm going to be on the side.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, you guys. Both them there allowed to go home, but they're not at work first thing in the morning. Thanks again for this opportunity, everybody.
So we're on agenda item number 8, and we have no closed session announcements. Moving on to number 9, do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
I'll make a motion that we approve the agenda.
I'll second.
Roll call vote, trustee Tosti?
Aye.
Trustee Rios?
Aye.
Trustee Martinez?
Aye.
Trustee Chris?
Aye.
And I'm an aye as well, motion carries. Moving on to public comments, item number 10, are there any public comments in your basket over there, or?
No.
Nothing?
And there's nothing on the phone.
Okay, moving on to item 11, public hearing, sufficiency of instructional materials.
Okay, we will open the, gavel to open the public.
I'm going to open the public hearing.
So then Dr. Myers is up.
Dr. Myers, you are up. I'm learning how to do this, can you tell? As long as I get to use this thing, I'm good.
Right. Well, we are all lifetime learners, I hope, so I'm glad to hear that you're participating with the rest of us. So tonight we have for the public hearing, the uniform, the Williams report, and there is nothing to report. We are sufficient in materials and supplies and our teaching staff and facilities.
Okay. Do I close the? Okay, I'd like to close the public hearing. Do we need to vote on this?
No.
Just gavel.
The gavel.
Thank you.
No explanation needed about this. I grew up with 4 brothers. This is dangerous in my hands.
I went this way.
Okay, let's move on to 12, reports. A summer program report, please.
Good evening, Board of Trustees, Superintendent, Mrs. Sanchez, and Cabinet. I'd like to introduce myself, Jill Cameron with Special Projects, and I have Mr. Luis Espinoza, who is the principal for summer school, and Gabe Gutierrez, sorry, Dr. Gabe Gutierrez, that's what I was fumbling on, sorry. I was floundering, sorry, because Matt Morrison was our principal, and Gabe will be reporting out. Yeah. Go ahead and hand this over to Luis, for.
So in summer school, we had 22 teachers, support staff, health tech, nurse, custodian, secretary, 5 extension paras, 3 playground supervisors, 2 extension leads, and then in TK, we had TK through 7th grade, 315 students. Our contractors were YMCA and Youth Alliance for the after school program. Supplemental contractors also for the after school program were Porsche, Yoga Activities, San Mateo Robotics, San Mateo Arts Council, which also helped out during the summer school for our arts classes, Adventures in Healing, and Horseplay. And all of these with special ed, we were at Ladley, which I didn't know was that big, but it's big. So we did, with Jill and I and with our subcontractors and a few volunteers, we did a parent and student orientation, which was, I didn't think there was gonna be that many people, but there was people waiting outside as well. So we had a meet and greet with myself and the program contractors, this transportation director, Noelia Lara, who was amazing during that time. Each student received a backpack, the ones that we had for Stuff the Bus, and also which each of them had school supplies, binder paper, pencil box, just anything that they needed to start the day with. And then those who showed up, who were there, they all got a CAP t-shirt. The design to support student growth and readiness for the upcoming school year, we had academic instruction, art integration, and what I mean by art integration is that each grade level had an art class. So, we had 2 art teachers and 1 ukulele instructor, which you'll see in the pictures that they constructed their own ukuleles. So it was really amazing. And then we had also San Bernardino County Office of Health. They were there to give presentations. There was also a few workshops for the younger kids from first, and second. We had these workshops, which they did a lot of exercising outside. And these are some of the pictures. We had 2 assemblies. We had clowning around, which is on the top left. Yeah, top left. They came in and they did a lot of art, a lot of balancing. They had the kids participate as well. We also had a science guy, the science guy. He was one of the ones that was doing a lot of science tricks for our kids. We also had our programmer read one book, one school, Wild Robot. I thought it was appropriate because the movie just came out, and just the kids loved getting into it. The program was amazing. The young lady at the bottom, she got really into it, and from what the parent told me is that she never read it. And so when she got the book, she saw the movie, and she did a paragraph for us, and you'll see that in the paper right there. And then you see the ukuleles. The kids were constructing them. They got a box, a ukulele kit, and they got to construct them, which was pretty fun. I think 5th grade had the best ones, I think, so far. And then we have our program impact, academic proficiency, holistic support, which addresses students' broader developmental needs, integrated components, arts, health, and SEL, social emotional learning, student outcomes, stronger academic skills, greater confidence, and improved well-being. So we had on our data, we had our pre and a post assessments in reading and math, and you can see from the pre and the post there was some improvement, not huge, but it was some improvement in all grade levels. And then the enrichment part, the yoga activity, this was the after-school program, and I'll let Jill talk about that.
So I do want to give a shout out though to Lad Lane and the administration there, because they let us come onto their campus, and right from the beginning, the principal and the VP, we met with them several times before the program began, and it was just it's such the team. I mean, this was my first time living through summer school, so Luis and I were like, what's going on? And the Ed Services Department, and like I said, Lad Lane, and facilities, everybody really jumped in there, and we were a team to really make all this come together and to have special education together as well. I mean, it really was quite the program that all came together on one campus, and so I just do want to give a shout out, like this was really quite just a district-wide effort. So some of the enrichment, we had 2 classes from Yogativity that came out, and they did your basic kind of yoga movements and postures with the kids, and meditation in the gym. And then we had the eco ambassadors that were going out into the school and looking at the environment and just kind of enjoying the life out there in nature. We also had Forsha who came in and did sewing. So the kids learned how to use the sewing machines, and they made garments that they could wear. So there was very, very hands-on. Every age level was doing sewing. We had San Benito Robotics come in, and they did a 101 session, and then transitioned into more advanced of a 102 session where kids could keep going with their development in the class. So that was neat to see. And then we had, I'm going to give a little bit of background on this before summer started. My boss, Dr. Myers, came to me and said, Jill, we really want to offer some horses. What can we do? So we found 2 ranches out in Aromas, and one of the ranches did hands-on horseback riding lessons. So it was just a small little group, and when I came to the group to talk about how do we want to how are we gonna do the lessons? How are we gonna choose the kids? Everybody took a step back and left me out in front to kind of figure it out. And so we did a lottery. And so we sent out a parent square to all the parents that were gonna be participating in the program, and we said, anybody who wants to, that's interested in it, please add your student to the list. And we did, at the orientation, we did a big random drawing for all the different grade levels. So that's how we got our group. So it turned out really great, and that was just the horseback riding lessons. And then we had another ranch that did, they were exposed to horses, they did more groundwork, how do you be around a horse safely, how do you groom them, how do you connect with them. They did gardening, a lot of teamwork activities out there. So we had the two ranches running simultaneously throughout the summer, which was a neat experience. And I had a really neat phone call from a grandmother who called me up and was like, are we gonna have horseback riding during the regular school year?
Oh.
I said, I wish we could. But what it did is it inspired her and got her to think outside the box. Her granddaughter wasn't chosen to do the lessons during the summer, but they looked into it and actually found a place for her granddaughter to do lessons during the summer, and I think they even continued. So just kind of opened up other people's horizons on exposure for their students if they could do that. So, we also had Portia that did some art with the kids, and then they also did some filmmaking. So we had a lot of different activities for the kids to participate in, and it really was a robust program. So the kids doing their academics during the morning till noon, and then transitioning into enrichment, and it was neat to see. It was a lot of coordination, but I don't know, it was really neat to see. Yeah. So I appreciate Dr. Myers pushing the envelope on the different dreams of enrichment for our kids, and we were able to bring it to everybody. So. Okay.
Alrighty, so to reiterate, we're thankful to Ladney for allowing us to be there together. Luis, Matt, and Jill did connect prior. They did a lot of coordinating, as was mentioned. And as you know, Matt has made significant contributions in our district, and he moved on. This is one of, I would say, he did an excellent job for extended school year. Prior to starting, he organized the training, so we had all our para training, our teachers, everyone was ready to go. It was an exciting time. We actually had 74 staff. I realized that our bus driver was not on there, but definitely want to give kudos to our bus driver for supporting our students, picking them up, dropping them off. Noella did an excellent job organizing the bus route, so that's quite a challenge, but she does it every year, and even preparing for the school year, we're always amazed at the work that she's doing. So I am pleased to share that we had an excellent ESY. ESY is for students that have special education services, individualized education programs, who require the service so they can retain that information, so they can start the year off with continuing progress. So we want them to retain, and how do students get selected for ESY? Well, the IEP teams make those determinations based on recruitment and retention process. Through IEP meetings, they determine, does the student require ESY so that they can retain the information? Is it required for them to move forward? And so we had 150 students, 89 students with mild, moderate needs, and 61 students with extensive needs. We had 26 more students this year than last year. So we continue to grow in terms of ESY. And the list of staff are there: 14 special education teachers, 49 pairs, 2 SLPs, 2 OTs, 1 mental health therapist, 1 BCBA, 1 APE teacher, a secretary nurse, and our transportation driver. So the way it was set up was every week had a theme. And so prior to this, they connected together and they developed the core information that they were going to present. And so all the classrooms were doing the same sort of tasks. Week 1 was color camp. They did art, science, storytelling through color. Week 2 is summer games, teamwork, sportsmanship, and active learning were the themes. Around the world in 4 days was week 3, cultural exploration and global learning. And then week 4 was surf and sand, summer fun with beach-themed activities, academic activities. The teachers also did the typical beginning of the year sort of activities like a social contract. They they built back in the culture of the classroom. We had students that were with teachers that they're typically not with, so sometimes that can be a transition, but because they did those activities, they were able to get the students engaged, and actually it was a great year. It was a very strong ESY this year. We do continue the curriculum that's used, not to initiate new learning, but to continue the learning that has already occurred, to retain that learning. So for English Language Arts, we integrated Sunday curriculum. It's a literacy program. And then for our extensive student needs, the unique learning systems. Mathematics was the Zern math supplemental instruction, unique learning system as well for math. For science, we integrated maths mystery science platform. And then the teachers also had hands-on activities outside. For social, emotional, and movement, we did contract with JMM for an SEL and dance program. So the students would have, every class had a session with the instructors, and that ended up culminating into a performance where parents were invited, staff were invited, administrators, so that was a fun time. So in all, we're growing as a school, we're growing, ESY is growing as well. And students had a great time. Some photos there, wasn't able to capture everything, but we have some instruction going on, students playing, having fun. Again, it was a pleasure to support this process. Matt Morrison did all the work, and I'm glad to present on his behalf. And I'm sure he had a ton of stories that he would share. I don't have all those with me, but it was a great time, and we have our work cut out for us this next year. We look for continued having a great program for ESY. So glad that we're collaborating as a group, and as we continue to do this, we'll look at how we can continue to integrate it further. So,
Very good.
any questions or comments?
I would like to say I love the One Book, One School.
Yes.
It's a wonderful thing to do for a school site. Sarah Vista maybe 2 years ago, asked the board to read, and it's wonderful.
It's awesome because each class, they give you a schedule where you're supposed to go and how you're supposed to, and then it also online gives them the questions and comprehension questions. And it also gives them like small little projects for them to do for each chapter.
Very nice.
So it's very good.
I love that program. Thank you.
This is where, I know Dr. Gutierrez, he knows what I'm gonna say. Special ed should have been reading that book as well. There's no excuse for them not to have read that book. They need to be exposed to the same curriculum. They should have been exposed to it. The teachers can read it to them. They can do the same activities. And that was a real miss. And it's something that I've been asking for as a board member and as a Grammy, that we do this. And I'm really disappointed that didn't happen.
What I did like was that, for our non-readers, for TK and Kinder, and first grade, the teachers got one book, and they could read to the students, and they did have certain sections where they could go ahead and say, okay, let's do another project. And the other thing is that our teacher was able to go ahead and she read the book, she looked at the projects for TK, Kinder, first grade, and she had
All of
them do some
this can be
projects.
modified.
Yes.
They
That's
should be
pretty good.
exposed to the same activity. And that's one reason that I made a big stink that it wasn't on the same campus. And then we got it on the same campus, and then we're still not doing the same stuff.
I will say another is that during recess and lunch, we did a lot of activities
Well, that's
with
good. That's one,
special ed.
I don't know if you realize, but last year it was gonna be this summer it was gonna be at 2 campuses. We got it onto 1, but then you were supposed to work together.
It was logistically it was tough, but it was, like I said, with Mr. Gutierrez and Matt, like getting them to do the activities that they had for recess and lunch, it was awesome because the kids were able to
I
integrate.
know, Rome wasn't built in a day.
It is great input, and I agree. So we'll definitely work on that. There isn't, that's something we want to strive for.
I know.
And we'll continue working on it. But it's helpful because just like our community wants, we want our students not just to be at the same spot, but integrated in terms of social and academics. And so there is a balance, and I know that Matt and the principals, as they were connecting and figured out how to do this, and also making sure we're meeting the goals and IEPs, how do we integrate these things? There are ways, and we'll work on that next year. We'll
Yeah, on the
definitely will
planning.
integrate it, so I
But
appreciate
I
that.
wouldn't be me if I didn't say so.
And thank you for sharing, because it's important. It is important.
She's a good grandma.
Oh, yeah. Great ideas and things that we definitely should be considering.
Kind of along the same lines as,
You're mine.
I hate this thing. Along the same lines as what trustee Grist was talking about, I would love to see opportunities for our ESY students to have that after-school experience. You know, Jill, you talked about the horseback riding and so forth. We have Cooper's Calling, which is, you know, horse therapy kinds of things geared specifically for some special needs children or anxiety or something like that. I don't know how they work. It may not be possible there, but, you know, to look into something like that, swimming, you know, at the aquatics club or Rabella's gym or, you know, something along those lines so that our special ed students have the same kind of opportunities as our gen ed. But I thought that both programs sounded really great. I worked summer school for 35 out of my 36 years of teaching, and it was by far always my favorite time because you got to cut loose a little bit. You know, you didn't have so many restrictions, and I'm glad to see that we are, you know, breaking down some of those barriers and really trying some different things to give the students a meaningful experience. And I just wish that we could open it up somehow to even more students, gen ed wise, to give them, you know, things to do during the summer or, you know, different opportunities of some new things to do.
Yeah.
So.
That's what I was thinking. I would love to see the kids get the robotics after school during the regular year and get some of the filmmaking.
Yeah.
You know, you can incorporate language arts and all kinds of skills, science into filmmaking. You know, it'd be a matter of history, but it'd be a matter of investing in a lot more cameras and stuff. But just to get the kids exposed to anything that they can possibly have that will lead them later on to a career.
Oh, we're full of ideas.
Great job.
No
Great.
money.
Yeah, great
Thank
ideas,
you.
yeah.
No money.
Ideas, no money.
Took notes.
Ideas, no money. Okay, let's move on now to 12B, a report on facilities for 24-25 projects and funding. So this is for the last school year.
This is for 24-25,
Okay,
and a little bit 26.
well then, okay.
A little bit. Good evening, everyone.
Hi.
Trustees, welcome to a nice air-conditioned building here. It's nice to get a little reprieve. I want to add to the conversation of the previous presentation. My son had the opportunity to work for the summer enrichment program, and he loved the horseback riding aspect of it. He got to go out there with all the little kids, and he would come home. He got to pose as a cowboy for a few days a week, you know, or whatever it was. So he came home with his boots on and his Wranglers, and he got to dress up and go out there. So that was pretty cool. So it's making an impact, not just in the little kids, but in a 21-year-old son. So I know I don't look like I should have a 21-year-old son, but I do. Yeah. Anyways, so on to our facilities report here. So I want to extend some gratitude first for Superintendent Sanchez and Deputy Superintendent Ward for their continued support for the facilities department. I talk to them often about a lot of facilities things. It seems like it's on the daily now, just because this year's been challenging. There's been a lot of stuff this year that has come up at our campuses that we've had to deal with. And in the idea of extending my gratitude, it goes out to the facilities department, our grounds crew, everybody included in the facilities department, because they've been stretched this year. You know, they've been pulled off of jobs that have been planned, you know, for the day or for the week to go and deal with what we call, you know, kind of emergency type of situations on our campuses. So they need to know that they're appreciated, because, you know, I might be the leader of this team, but without the whole team and all their efforts and everything that they're doing, you know, it just wouldn't work. So I appreciate all of them and our Secretary's support, and Noelia was mentioned as well. She's amazing. She's an amazing transportation coordinator. She does a fantastic job, and she requires very little attention from me, which is pretty cool. So anyways, it's just, it's been great. So everyone deserves that. So what you're gonna see here in this presentation is a collaboration. It's not just outside contractors who have come in and done the work, but it's also the work of our facilities maintenance department, our grounds crew. It's a collaborative effort. So, you know, these individuals, from opening gates or opening doors or shaking someone's hand that's a contractor on a campus, or offering support in some other way. So it's a complete collaborative effort on part of the facilities department. So the board needs to understand that and know that as well, coming from me, that everybody has played a part in all the things that you're gonna be able to see today. Let's get started, shall we? So the first slide here is, of course, the cubes, so the cube. We know that there were 3 cubes that were built in 24 and into 25. I think we finished in January of 25. That was something that we were able to accomplish with the help of, you know, our Educational Services Department and ELOP funding and some other funding that I call the bank now. Beth was able to help out with, so I go to her quite a bit as well now, so I appreciate her also. But these cubes we built, and these cube buildings were built at Calaveras, Sunny Slope, and Lad Lane, as we all know, and they're just under 1,100 square feet. They're slab on grade, so for those of us that don't know the construction terms, it's a slab. It's a concrete slab that's built on dirt. And it's steel frame, and it's a 100-year building. Yes, I said it, it's a 100-year building. It's built just like a home. It's a commercial style building that's gonna last. It's gonna last through the elements and the test of time, and it'll probably, well, I know it's gonna outlive me, so. Anyways, so that's what we did to start the kickoff of this project in these slides here. And then we move on to the Mays Middle School main office eaves. So this is on the front facade of the building. What we did was, in an effort with our contractor, we replaced 16 of those beams. So you can imagine, you know, I know that I've spoken in the past about the condition of these beams and the need to do something like this. They were pretty dilapidated and they were just falling apart. They were a mess. So this was a collaborative effort on with our maintenance department and the contractor alike to get this project completed, and anybody that hasn't seen it should go out and look at it. It looks pretty cool. It looks pretty good. So there's that. The Sunny Slope School push lever gate. You remember there was a request for this to be done, which turned out to be a fantastic one, because, you know, it not only was a safety security, but it was also a user-friendly project. So it provided safety, it provided security, of course, and then, you know, there's a roll gate that was the original gate that was there that was difficult for, you know, our teachers and other staff alike to have to move that thing and push it over. But we did leave it in place just as an added security measure. So, you know, our great custodial staff opens that up in the mornings, and, you know, people are able to get access to that side of the school securely. So that was a good project. Also, we have our Rancho Santana School. So this is the PIP. This is the pour-in place that was done. We were able to complete this project prior to school starting, which was great. There were some folks that were reaching out to the facilities department that really wanted to see this project done, because, you know, there's folks that come onto the campus, and if that stuff starts peeling up or anybody starts picking at it, it just creates a huge crater and a huge problem. So we needed to get that replaced, and we did that. A little bit of background on that. That project, believe it or not, consists of roughly 3,400 square feet of material that was placed down. So quite a large surface area there that we were able to accomplish before the start of the school year over the summer. Moving on, so Calaveras. So here's another pour-in-place project. These are actually 2 separate playground areas that were done. So that pour-in-place material was also done, and that project was, again, 2 separate play areas, roughly 2,800 square feet for one, and roughly 1,300 square feet for another. So it gives you an idea, you know, of the surface area that's being covered here. Our Calaveras students do use these playgrounds, so they are able to access them and use them, and it was something that needed to get done, so that got done as well. Moving on, a lot smaller scale, but nevertheless equally as important. You know, we find that some of our slides over the course of time and use, and that, you know, they tend to wear out and tend to get holes and other cracks and things in them, so we had to replace these 2 slides, so we did that at Lad Lane. moving on. So much larger scale, we have the bathrooms improvement project. So rather than showing you, 15 slides of all the different bathrooms we did, because we mainly did all of the same stuff in each one of the bathrooms, and that was by design. We did that so that, there was, it's just easier if there's any kind of damages or any kind of replacements that are needed in the future. We kind of streamlined that process by putting all the same materials, same colors, same flooring, same partitions in these bathrooms. And we're featuring Sierra Vista School here. And at Sierra Vista, Calaveras, Accelerated Achievement Academy, and Hollister Dual Language Academy, there were a total of 28 restrooms that we were able to do, covering a total of 5,766 square feet. So quite a lot. Talk about 28 restrooms over the course of the summer. It was a lot. But they were able to accomplish that, and again, that's a collective effort of the facilities maintenance department as well as our contractors. So that was a big one. Now we move on to Ladd Lane Maze. So we endeavored to do our exterior lighting project, upgrade project. So we basically were able to upgrade all the lighting on not only these particular campuses, but other campuses also that I'll mention when it comes to the exterior lighting. So I gave you a little look into what was once there at Maze on the bottom left-hand corner to what is now there at Maze on the upper left-hand corner. So, and then of course, you have Maze there up at the top right, and you have Ladd Lane down there at the bottom right. And I'll give you a little treat at the end of this presentation because we got some drone footage to show you what that really looks like from the air. So that was a pretty cool opportunity that we got to be a part of. So that campus exterior lighting project, the project scope was the parking lots and the courtyard LED upgrade to all the lighting there. And the district schools were Ladd Lane, Marguerite Mays, HDLA, Calaveras AAA, Sierra Vista, ECE HSD property is what I call it, and district office. So we're able to touch each one of these sites and upgrade all the lighting. And then if the board remembers, we also upgraded all of the lighting under our solar arrays, all of our solar canopies. So all of those are working now, which is also a safety security issue for the district. So we're able to accomplish that as well. Then we move on to Sunny Slope. So this one is one that is I'm very proud of, as well as our maintenance staff, because if anyone knows and remembers room 3, 4, and 5 at Sunny Slope, which was once the boneyard, which was once furniture, and I think Trustee Toasty took a walk through there, so she could speak to that. Some of the stuff was stacked to the ceiling, believe it or not. So, and that was all 3 rooms. But over the course of time, our great maintenance staff was able to get in there and go through all that stuff and basically get it to a point now where here it is, right? We got carpet installed in each of those rooms, not to mention many of the other rooms at Sunny Slope and both Rancho, and you'll see that slide in a minute. But the facilities department, along with the flooring professionals, performed a district-wide all-campus flooring assessment. And that scope of work was 10 rooms covering a total of 10,330 square feet at Sunny Slope alone. So we're talking about 10 rooms that we were able to do over at Sunny Slope, which is pretty phenomenal. So anybody that hasn't seen it, go by there and look at it. It looks pretty good. Rancho San Justo, keeping with the theme of flooring and carpet replacement, we have featured here the Wellness Center. The Wellness Center is about 3,200 square feet, so you can imagine what that took to move all the furniture out. Again, it's yet another something that our custodial staff and our maintenance staff helps out with, and it couldn't be accomplished if they weren't there to be able to offer the support to do this kind of stuff. So then the contractor came in. I think they came in on a Saturday to do all this stuff. So pretty phenomenal because of the relationship that we're able to have with them. They were able to come in and get it done. Along with some other rooms at Rancho, and that scope of work was not only the Wellness Center, plus 7 rooms covering a total of 7,800 square foot of carpet at Rancho San Justo alone. So we were able to feature and do 2 schools during the summer. The intention moving forward, giving a little preview into the future, is to try to do a little bit of this throughout the year during our breaks. And we're thinking outside the box and trying to get into our campuses, maybe even in the evenings, to
to do things because it's been offered to the district for the actual contractor to come in and help move furniture out, do a room or two a night, and move everything back in, believe it or not, for instruction the next day. So I have yet to see if I want to do that because I know the stress that it'll add to me, and I don't know if I'll sleep at night. I might just end up being there to watch it all done. But anyways, we have that option. So the idea in the future is to add as many schools as we can because of the flooring assessment that was done. So we have basically a template, you know, directions moving forward as to what each school needs in terms of the flooring. So that's already been done. Now we just have to execute. So pretty phenomenal there as well. Then we move on to R.O. Hardin. So this came at special request over the course of, let's say, about 3 years now by our great administrators over there at R.O. Hardin. You know, we had some dilapidated, old, broken down fencing around these AC units. So we call them corrals. So that's why it's called the R.O. Hardin School Fencing Replacement with their corral replacement, corral fencing. So we were able to put all that fencing up around each one of those units there. So that was a good bit of work. Then we move on to HDLA, keeping with the theme of fencing. So there was also a request by our administrators at HDLA that there was a need for the fencing to be around the TK kinder play area. Mainly to keep those kids corralled inside there and to keep the larger kids from going in there, right? So we were able to accomplish that. We put a couple gates so that our grounds crew can still get in there because they still got to mow the lawn and do all the work inside there. So they were very gracious and very happy that we were able to accomplish this as well on the campus. So we were happy to do that and see that done this year as well. Now we move on to the Marguerite Mays front facade painting. This was something that was done in-house, and you know, I placed the slides on this slide, so I didn't have to go back and forth between slides. But this was something that was done in-house. Anybody that's driven along Meridian there and looks at the front facade of the school before this was done, probably maybe noticed it, maybe not. But you know, the way that we operate in the facilities department is to be forward-thinking and to be getting our eyes on things before someone sends in a work ticket about it or someone tells us. So we were able to accomplish this, and this is just a start to what's to come here in the future at many of our schools, not just Margaret Mays. So we were able to do that as well at Mays. And I think this is one of two of last slides. So Sunny Slope, we're going to feature the MRC, the Migrant Resource Center. This was also an in-house job. We were able to paint the exterior of the MRC, and then you see the cool mural. It's on the backside there that's showing, you know, as you drive up or down Sunny Slope Road. So definitely needed a facelift there. We were able to also do 2 rooms out of the MRC as well, carpet. So we were able to do that, the flooring. So that building looks great. So if anybody has a chance to go by there and look at that, go check that out. And certainly last but not least, we have Sunny Slope front facade. Not only was it in dire need of some new paint on the walls, as many of our schools do, that we'll see throughout the course of this year, and maybe some other presentations I'll give, that yes, we are continuing to, you know, paint walls here and there as needed, as we notice at our schools, but this is the front facade of the building around the loop there on the vintage side, and then some landscaping. So we weren't prepared to really plant stuff in the 95-degree weather, so we're going to wait until the fall season to plant something that will hopefully thrive there. So we did a little bit of a cleanup there, and then we'll do a little bit of addition of some real pretty stuff that I'm sure everybody will be proud of here. So that is pretty much it. Of course, I could stand up here for another 15 minutes to talk about all the other things that we're doing, but this is the feature. And then here we got a little treat. So the contractor that came out that helped us do the exterior lighting LED upgrade project to our schools, we're going to feature 2 schools here. We're going to feature Lad Lane, we're going to feature Mays. And the reason why we're doing that is because at those schools, that's where the majority of the work was needed. That's where the most lights had to be replaced. So I asked the contractor to come out and say, hey, can you come and hang out with me at, you know, 8:30, 9 o'clock at night when it's dark enough to fly a drone and show, you know, our audience, our board, the community, and others, you know, what we're doing, right? If pictures speak 1,000 words, then I don't know what drone footage will tell us, but we'll see.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
So safe.
Definitely. Safety, security, certainly paramount here, right? So you're looking at Mays Middle School here, you're looking at the inner courtyard, and we're looking westward, and then we're looking parking lot to the south. So definitely more well lit with all the new upgraded LED lights. So I'm sure our custodians and our staff alike are very happy, the ones that hang out after hours or work after hours. So very pleased that we were able to do this project, much needed. So I think kudos to the board for having some forward thinking and allowing us to get approval for this. But you can see 50% energy savings with the LED implementation there. Front of the school, 20 to 30% increased light levels. So pretty much, no pun intended, from night to day, right? Because it was pretty dark in some of those places. So anyways, that was Mays, and then we have one little short one for Ladd Lane here that'll kind of feature that school. So definitely more well lit.
Do the lights stay on all night?
The lights are on actually a sensor, so believe it or not, in some of the areas we've actually controlled. There's a remote control that they set. They set the controls to basically be dim, but when you drive up or they sense motion, they light up to 100% or 80%, whatever they're set at. So yeah, now we're going to Palm Desert there, the south end of the campus. But again, 50% energy savings, which is huge. So we're talking 6 schools, right?
Right. Yeah.
And I mean, look at that.
Yes.
So definitely safer, definitely a feeling of security for our staff that's there later. So we're really pleased about that project as well. So, and much more to come. We're going to be busy this year. I've already been in conversation with Superintendent Sanchez and others in our directors group, our cabinet, about some of the projects we're thinking of, and just to kind of give the board, to close this out, a little preview of what we're thinking and what we're discussing and what we're working on for the rest of 25, believe it or not, and then into 26 and summer of 26. Some of the things to mention are Rancho Santana TK Kinder Playground improvement area for hardscape there. Asphalt replacement at Sunny Slope right in front of rooms 3, 4, 5, and 6, I believe. There's some asphalt that's in dire need of replacement on what we call the vintage side of campus. And then we have some asphalt replacement that we're gonna do also. If anybody's tried to walk into the enterprise room here at any time, we're gonna do this area where our nice big oak tree is causing some problems and shallow rooting here that could pose a potential safety hazard. So we're gonna do that on some scale, which we're looking forward to as well. Central kitchen, remember that one? So we're talking about central kitchen, going through the design phase now with central kitchen, so we're excited about that. Interior lighting upgrade project, we did the exterior lighting, now we're looking to do interior lighting upgrade to all of our schools that currently do not have any LED lighting. So those schools would be Calaveras, HDLA, Mays, Sunny Slope, Sierra Vista, Ladd Lane, and lastly the DO, so the district office we'll look at as well. And then looking into phase 2 of our restroom improvements project. We saw the schools featured that we were able to do this last summer, and I'd like to potentially, possibly look into some of the other schools that we want to focus on where there's improvements that are needed as well. Gymnasium flooring, for anybody that's inside, that's been in our gymnasiums, the 2 gymnasiums that we have, over at Mays, we have the vinyl tile that's there, that was there from the time the place was built, as well as Rancho having the sheet vinyl in there. And I've been in there several times, over the course of seeing our community use it, or my kids playing volleyball or something, and then our staff and students using it on a regular basis, and also the community. The community pays to use our gymnasiums. So we're looking into some flooring options for these two gymnasiums, so a little bit of forward thinking there. Warming kitchen flooring improvements, looking into those as well. And then classrooms or campus flooring replacements. So we saw featured the two schools where we were able to do all the flooring, all the carpet in the classrooms and some of those other areas. But I guess we'll call it phase 2 of this next round of carpet replacements at our schools that we already have done an assessment for. So we're already ahead of the game there. So that was the intention. And then also district campuses air quality, so HVAC improvements we're looking into as well coming into the fall winter season. We want to implement some improvements in each of our classrooms at all of our campuses that will improve air quality. So I'm looking into options there as well. So quite a full plate, but I got a lot of really good help and I have some excellent support. So I appreciate the opportunity to speak with you tonight. Is there any questions? Yes.
So I noticed at Sierra Vista from the picture that, because I know the request had been to put, instead of paper towels, hand dryers,
Yes.
and it didn't happen.
So that was part, thank you for reminding me. So that was actually part of the, at the top of my list here that I didn't highlight, and that's why I didn't read it. But restrooms, hand dryers, Sierra Vista 13 and HDLA, Sierra Vista, I think there's 5 or 6, and HDLA has another 5 or 6. Particularly the student restrooms. I think some of the staff restrooms have hand dryers, but we're in the process of assessing that and going through it. But yes, there will be the hand dryers that will be implemented in there. We weren't able to accomplish that this last time around because of the time constraint. We don't want to get in there and tear things up prior to school starting.
Because that would take electrical and whatnot that
Yeah,
doesn't exist.
There was a little bit more of a challenge at these two schools than there was at Calaveras. That's why we were able to accomplish Calaveras.
Oh, so there are hand dryers in Calaveras?
Oh yeah.
Oh, perfect.
Oh yeah, there are the hand dryers. That was the school that we were able to accomplish, but we found as we got closer to the start of the school year, we didn't want to have to shut the restrooms down for our students and staff to do that. Yeah, so that is something that's definitely on the list. So thank you for bringing that up. But yes, at Calaveras there are hand dryers.
Yeah.
Yep.
But I appreciate the thinking about the gyms too, because the floors,
They're in need.
they need TLC.
They're in need.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you can only buff it and strip it down so much, and then it's just it's necessary.
I really appreciate everything that you have done, and it's been extremely well done, very good.
I appreciate that.
I was very excited when we went around and saw everything. What I would like to see though is like a schedule, you know, when you plan on getting this done and this done, so we can experience your checkoff.
Okay, yeah, certainly.
That's what I would like to see, you know,
Okay.
where we're going and where we're going to and what has been done.
That is not a difficult thing to do.
You know, but
Yeah.
I would like to see that, and then we can see where we're going. Because that's part of, you know, when you get things done in that checkoff, it's part of, oh gosh, we got that done, and then we know where you're going next, and I mean, that's just part of to see what's happening.
Absolutely.
She's
Thank
gonna
you.
be following you around.
She will.
Then you have to jump up and
That's
say,
okay.
oh,
That's all right.
done.
I'm okay with that. Yeah.
Well, because you do incredible work, the fellows, everybody that's doing it. I mean, our people you've hired, especially our people, I mean, they've done incredible work.
Great team.
That's a great.
Incredible work.
Complete team effort. Absolutely.
You
Thank you
know,
for
and
that.
I have nothing but praise to say to our people. And so that's a big part of it. We want to be able to acknowledge them.
Absolutely.
So,
And then I think we're done. Are we done?
Any
Yeah.
questions, any more
Okay.
questions? Okay,
Yeah,
thank you,
okay.
thank
All
you
right.
so much, great job.
Absolutely.
Do we have the next part to the facilities?
Oh,
report?
part
That's
two.
amazing.
Oh, part
Oh.
two, that's why Beth was standing there.
Yeah.
Oh, the money lady. There
The
you
bank.
go.
I like
bank.
that one.
The bank is at the podium. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, about that. So obviously we need resources in order to do all of those things that you just saw. And significant amount of resources were used over the course of last year. This is really small, but it is in your agenda, so I'm hoping that you can blow it up. Last year, over the span of the various different facility funds, we spent $4 million, almost $200,000 on various improvements. Across the top of the form, you can see that we categorize certain things in some standard like deferred maintenance categories, your roofing, a lot of work done on roofing.
Yeah.
I don't know, did you mention roofing?
A while back I did.
Yeah, a lot of work done on roofing, district-wide. Electrical, painting, paving, those are some big chunks. Those actually fall into a deferred maintenance plan type of category. There are a few others, but these are the ones that we actually used. And then as we go over to the right-hand side, I'll talk a little bit more about that. But our facilities funds come from deferred maintenance. That's a contribution that the unrestricted fund puts over into deferred maintenance. It was, it had a gap for a number of years. We are now living through that gap, and that happened because the state used to fund and then we were required to put in a match. When the state stopped funding it, and this is pre-LCFF, then districts went, well, I don't have to match it, I've got other needs I have to do, and so it fell out. We started funding our deferred maintenance fund 3 years ago, I believe it is. At the beginning of the year, we had 1.1 million. That's the June 30, 2024 balance or July 1, 2024. At the end of the year, we had $1.5 million in there after having spent $500,000. So as Erin has projects that come up, we sit down and we say, where is the best fit for these dollars? If we can fit something into deferred maintenance and save bond funds for bond-specific, bond-defined projects, then we will do that. And so that's kind of some of that work that we do on a periodic basis. It says, okay, this is what's going on. Old bond funds, you can see I've got a notation in there. At the next board meeting, I'm going to be closing those 2 bond funds. They had just small residual balances for a while. The only one that will stay open is going to be the field house. That's money that we've put in. We've got some requirements attached to that. The bond funds, which is noted on here as 212, that's our Measure M bond. And what has happened is we forward spent money from bond funds, waiting for the state to reimburse us for their share of, first, modernization projects that would go back at this point about 9 or 10 years. We waited about 7 years to get the money. And then secondly, the state's match for RSS. The state's match for RSS of $16 million came in during the last school year. That is the big difference between your beginning balance and your ending balance. So because we had paid for all of RSS out of bond funds, and essentially the state's match is returning our bond funds to us, these maintain their identity as bond funds. So I'm stressing that because as we talk about what can we do with those funds, we are going to go to the bond language, and the bond language is going to say this is what you can do with those funds.
Right.
So as we move forward, we are keeping an eye on that. They are earning interest, and so interest has been attributed. I haven't called it out separately in here. Developer fees is the next big chunk. We've got a lot of developments going on. Take a look at the difference year over year. We brought in almost $2 million net more than we had in there. So, and that's not going away. So developer fee funds can be spent on growth. As we added 137 kiddos last year and another 200 and some odd kiddos this year, we have begun conversations about where are we going to put all those kiddos. I know that you've talked about it, you said we have to plan. We are talking about that. We can use these funds for growth. We can use those funds to build a brand new school. It's not enough money. It's not enough money. Okay? We can use the developer fee funds to add in additional classrooms. I'm talking about either building additional classrooms or bringing in portable modular classrooms. It's all growth projects. So those are the types of things. We will try and target those. At the next board meeting, I will be bringing our annual and 5-year developer fee report, which will show you where we are in spending, and we'll talk more about that at that time. But we have requirements to spend those, for the growth of students in this school, or in this district. And in the last year, we spent $115,000 on that. It's not a large amount of money towards projects, and in fact, we really only spent about $4 grand on growth type of projects. But over there in the admin section, which is on the far right, $96,000, we have things like the facility needs analysis. We pay for that out of developer fees, because a facility needs analysis, what do you need and where do you need it, and growth is part of that. We pay for our facility consultants. That's Jack Schrader and company, and they're the ones that help us navigate through the state building project or the state building program and help us get everything in line so that we can get the appropriate reimbursements, and then to make sure that we survive the eventual audits that the state does on those projects. So they're in there. Demographer's report was paid for out of developer fees. It's a natural match to that. Where are we going, and so that we can, plan on things. And then finally, the district is allowed to charge an admin fee. We don't call it indirect in developer fees. Don't ask me why. But the law is written so that it's an admin fee of 3% of all the collections that the district makes in order to cover the administrative costs of collecting those funds. And so that's a charge against the developer fee, and it goes into the unrestricted general fund. So that's that 100,000 or just short of 100,000 that's being spent out of developer fees. We still have $10 million. We will collect another $1.5 million this year, maybe $2.5 million, depending on where all of those developments are going. And so we are going to be looking, as we address the needs of campuses that are bursting at the seams, with these monies, and probably these monies first, and then working our way through. State facility funds, that fund has stayed open because when the state reimburses us for a project, like they did for RSS or the modernization projects of a couple of years ago, they put the money in there. But because it's a repayment, it gets moved out of there, and it gets moved to bond funds. And then finally, our special reserve for capital outlay, it's got our RDA funds that are collected annually by the district. We are a member of a redevelopment agency here in Hollister, and so those are segregated over there. Those can be used for any facility type need of the district, and so that's why they're included on here. And then our facility agreement with the city of Hollister is in there. And this year we spent a pretty decent amount of money, about just short of 10% of the funds that we had in there. And the biggest part of that was the move we made at the beginning of last year in order to fund 2 custodians at the middle school in order to address the custodial impact of using those facilities for our, or in conjunction with our contract with the city. So the money comes out of there and it goes into a restricted general fund where civic permits and facility fees go into, and those custodians are paid for out of that fund. And then finally, and it happens probably about once every other year or so, the equipment in the grounds department is reevaluated, and if needed, as we did this last year, about $12,000, we replaced some equipment. And so that's how that money is being spent at this point. So at the end of the year, in our facility funds, we have $45 million to address a myriad of needs. We have the facility needs assessment that we have talked about, and that is still a list that Aaron and his staff are going down to address the hottest topics that we can. We can't do everything that's on that list, but we do have funds to do more things on that list. And then parenthetically to that, we are keeping an eye in the future for growth in our facilities in order to accommodate the growth in our student population.
That's a list that I think the board would love to see.
What's that? I'm sorry.
That you just talked about,
That's coming next month.
Oh, that comes next month, okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. That was easy. Any questions on this? All right, then I'll thank you very much.
I think
Thank
you.
you.
You're keeping us good.
Alrighty, we are moving on now to item number 13, the superintendent's report for September.
Good evening, board. Good evening, board and audience members, staff. Tonight's report, we can move forward. We will briefly go into enrollment. We've topped the 6,000 mark. We're maintaining steady at 6,019. It's been a while since the Hollister School District has been at that enrollment level, so it is a good thing. It is a good thing. Along with that is the conversation that we just had. Facilities, impacted schools, our facilities master plan that is coming, so more conversations will be happening in the next few months so that we can make preparations as we move forward. Okay, this slide is in reference to, the next few slides I'm going to address some of the conversations that we had at the last board meeting in regards to our consent item agenda and where we are with our contracts. So as you can see, the yellow arrow is pointing at agenda item on the consent agenda, item number O, which was approval of contract with AYA Healthcare Inc. I believe some of the comments that we talked about was whether or not the public was able to see our agenda items, whether or not the public was able to have this information. So part of my presentation tonight is to quickly review how it is that the public accesses this information. So if we can go on to the next slide, please. The consent agenda item are routine items that don't require a lot of conversation and that are expedited to move either operations along or to move the board meeting along, in my opinion, as well. When we expand agenda item, and this is the agenda from last month, item O is expanded, and you can see the information that sits within that title, and you can also see the financial impact, which in this case was that $296 amount. So each agenda item, when a viewer is online, can be expanded. If there are attachments, those are accessible. If there's multiple attachments or videos, just like our facilities presentation, those items are also viewable. This is a quick review so that our public can know that our information is accessible. Okay. Specifically diving into our staffing, I would like to go back to April 2025. I did quick research. Our HR team, our SPED team has been working diligently. And as you can see, back in April 2025, when we're still trying to wrap up the 24-25 school year, hiring already began. And it may have even begun sooner, but this is where I started to have a starting point. Our HR staff, Linda and her team worked diligently. They worked long hours during the hiring season to make sure that we're as staffed as can be when the school year starts. As we go through each month, I've delineated each position that has been hired. For the classified staff, I have indicated them as a per person, not an FTE. And I also did not include summer program hires, which are pages and pages worth of hiring. So back in May, we began to hire special education teachers. All SPED hires will be in yellow. We can move forward. In June, we had, we're continuing to hire administrators, classified staff, teaching staff. We can move forward. July, same thing. In July, we see a italicized instructional assistants, and the reason why is because there are some instances where instructional assistants can be in special educational settings with RSP teachers. I did not dig into each individual employee to see where they were placed, whether or not they were in an RSP setting. So the italics means that they could be at some point assigned to a SPED situation, SPED setting. Okay, moving forward, August. So in August, we were a little bit more busier for SPED. The list grew. We had coordinator, we had an SLP, teachers, a school nurse. This is the first time that special education has had a hire for a school nurse assigned to a classroom, a medically fragile classroom. It is a new classroom, and it's a new aspect of our program. We also continue to hire paras. In our district, there are para 3s, but there's also para 3 bilingual. Those are the employees that are bilingual, and they have the competency to speak and write in Spanish. Moving forward, in September, we continue to hire. We hired another SLP, another program specialist, and more para 3s. We hired, a very variety of other staff members throughout the district, and we know that all of these positions allow us to complete the tasks that we have each and every day, instructing our students, maintaining our facilities, feeding our students, and so on. Can I continue? So this is the breakdown for special education hires to date. As you can see, there has been progress, and there continues to be progress. Our special education director and our HR director meet regularly. I also meet with them to discuss what are our next steps, where are our needs, what job recruitments are coming up, and as a matter of fact, there's one coming up next week, and there's several coming up in the month of October, so that we can continue to hire, and that takes dedication, that takes time. Sometimes these job fairs occur when staff are on vacation, and the HR staff, they pack up and go, whether or not others attend, they still go and represent the district. So we can move forward, please. Okay, this is where I think I can address the question that came up last month from the board. What is the difference? Show us the breakdown of when we hire contracted staff versus hiring district employees. So it is always our goal, always our goal to hire district hired staff. We know that consistency is good for students. We know that in certain situations, hiring staff directly by the district is less expensive. But when we look at the breakdown, we look at the first row, SLPs, we have enough FTE through the contracted staff to be equal to 11, so 11 FTE. The contracted costs are 1.8 million. The average cost of those staff is 169,000. If we scoot over the blank cell, then we go into the HSD staff. The average current cost of our current SLPs is $169,244. If we take that amount and multiply it by 11 FTE, it gives us that 1.861 amount in the last column. As we can see, the amount is not off by very much. But how can that be? The reason is when we hire a contractor, we pay a flat rate, or we pay an amount. When we hire staff, we pay statutory benefits, we pay health and welfare benefits, we pay, STRS, or PERS, we pay different added costs that we don't ever really talk about, but it is the cost of doing business, and it is the employer's responsibility to take that cost on.
But there's no dollar amount when you talk about loyalty to the community, to the students, and to the staff and the school.
That's why hiring staff is always a priority.
Right.
Even when we hire, for example, these 11 SLPs, the posting remains open.
Yeah,
right? So that if and when an SLP applies, then that 11 FTE goes down to 10. And that has happened already this year, not for SLPs, but for some of the other positions that are on this spreadsheet. The amounts have gone down already.
Right.
So for OT, as you can see, we pay more as an employer for OTs. Our OT salary schedule is pretty competitive, and it is one of the higher ones in our region versus what the contractor is getting paid by their agency. We do have an applicant, and I believe that interviews are set up for the next couple of days, so that potentially we could eliminate that contractor. However, we would tack on the full price.
Right.
Teachers, some years ago, it was unheard of the need to hire contracted teachers.
I know.
Everyone that wanted a steady income went into teaching when I went to college.
Yeah.
But now, when we talk about specific special education classrooms or specific education credentials or specific education program needs, that is not always a popular avenue as a career for a student to go into that would want to be directly hired by the district. This is one of those cases where we do pay more for a contractor. So for 5 FTE contracted teachers, we're currently paying an average cost of $159,000. However, should we hire a teacher, the average cost could potentially be $141,000. Again, that's statutory benefits, that's health and welfare, that's all the things that we pay into. So that is an area that we continually discuss. We look, we are going to these job fairs. Linda's going to the job fairs, her department's going to the job fairs. Special ed will be collaborating with her to see how can we get some of these numbers to go down.
Yeah.
The positions that have an asterisk are the positions that do not exist in the district. However, they are positions that we are interested in the near future, working through the negotiations process with the appropriate bargaining unit that these positions would be housed in to prepare for having our own BTs, behavior techs, having our own registered behavior techs, and potentially an LVN or 2. We've never had that in our district, but if we could, it would benefit us. We go back to what is the best approach to provide consistency for students.
Yeah,
And
what's best for the kid.
That is always what we will think about. So as you can see, the cost, I was actually surprised with some of these. And so I sat with our CBO, Beth. Can you please explain this to me as she's busily working on unaudited actuals? Like, please, can you help me out here? Help me calculate this out, help me figure this out. And this is one of the informational pieces, right? You know, it's very important when we talk and when we discuss things that if we can be timely, and I appreciate her setting time aside last week to help me prepare this so that we can provide this information for the board, that the board is aware of what these costs are.
Yeah.
Again, I can't stress it enough. The priority is to hire our own internal staff.
Well, it's awesome. Thank you, Beth, for
Yeah,
helping
thank
us
you for
do
putting
this.
it together.
This is really important.
It's eye-opening.
Mm-hmm.
I have one question.
Yes.
And it might be to Trustee Rios. There's 11 FTEs for the SLP position. Do the companies, the contracted companies, are they offering 401ks that are more competitive than STRS?
That I can't quite answer. I do know that they offer 401ks. You know, I don't know about that. But they also offer health benefits and, you know, certain stipends for travel or housing and that sort of thing as well.
I'm trying to answer a question in my head, is why would an SLP choose to not work for a school district and choose to work for a contracted agency?
That's an easy question to answer. I worked with somebody who was with an agency, and she actually worked for Hollister School District during summer, so I worked with her. And she was telling me that she had just finished a semester in King City. She was doing summer in Hollister, that she was looking forward to going over to Hawaii for 3 months, and then she was going to go to the Midwest, she was gonna visit family. And so there are opportunities, if you're not tied down to a community, you can travel all over as much as you want. Or you can take a year-long position, temporary position, but, you know, be in a school.
So it's like a visiting nurse?
Yes.
Okay, I was just curious.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions regarding this portion of the report?
I'm really glad you did it.
Thank you. Okay, we're gonna move on. Some of the initiatives that we will continue to work on is attendance awareness. We will continue to work on Away for the Day. Part of Away for the Day, as we've discussed, is garnering input from stakeholders. As we look at the calendar, perhaps October or November will be good months for the team to set opportunities for meetings, maybe one at one location and another at another location, and we could have an open type of forum. So that is on our radar, and I'm thinking about perhaps October, November, so that we can be prepared. The deadline to implement the new law, which I still believe we are ahead of the game, is July 1st, 2026. Moving on, please. We also have the universal benefits application. So our director of IT, our director of student nutrition, and our CBO, and respective teams worked on several meetings to gather information as to who has not submitted their universal benefits application yet. This is what we can generically call the free lunch application for this year. We are a community eligibility school or district. As we know, all of our schools receive free lunch. Next year will be our baseline year. So this is where we are practicing using electronic forms, we're practicing using Parent Square, making things more efficient. We will be making phone calls. When we began the process, which was over a month ago, we had meetings, we created a timeline, we distributed tasks, and on the 18th of September, we were able to distribute, actually it was before that, we were able to distribute the electronic form to 1,783 families. Those are who we need to respond. 24 hours later, 123 families have responded. It's quite a process. I know that Manny in IT is integral to the process. We also will be making phone calls, personal phone calls to the families to encourage them to apply. Next year is where we're gonna have the big test, and so everything we learned this year, we will be able to apply and refinish, right? We will be able to work out the kinks so that next year we will be on it, because it will be the entire district.
I think what we noticed was that there were, I mean, not everybody is technology savvy, and some of our families can get these things, but don't know how to still manipulate it on their phone, or don't have a computer. So I think what we ended up having to do is doing like having one of our food service people in the office, in the front office, sitting there ready for parents to come in to just help facilitate doing the application with them, at the site. I think having perhaps some of those sessions just to be able to help families come in and fill out an application would be great.
Yes, we are going to provide, and we will continue to provide as much support as we can. I know that there are some guidelines because we are community eligibility, where certain staff can't get as involved, and during the baseline year next year might look a little bit different, but whether it's our liaisons, whether it's staff here, staff on light duty, we have a plan to help support. We also try to make the form as user friendly because the state issued just a generic template. Beth worked with a program called Inform K-12 and their vendor to make this an electronic form. So when parents log in, only specific boxes are highlighted where they have to type in a name or type in a dollar amount for their salaries or for their monthly income. We're trying to make it as user-friendly so we can work on that, those ideas that you've shared as well.
I think any event that we do, I mean, just setting a table aside with just able to have families go over there, oh, I haven't filled out my application, and I think just even that, being able to have, again, if our focus is trying to figure out how to access most of these families.
So like parent conferences?
No, just like events, like if we have
if there's a back to school
yes,
night.
that there's actually just a table there available for those families that may
Well,
need
in the middle
assistance.
school, it's usually it's not every day, it's a one-time night thing, so you have a lot of people come.
Yes.
So like a PAC meeting or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The other,
Forms, mobile accessible? Because I know sometimes forms are not very good and a lot of people might just have their phone and not a computer.
Yes, that's a good question. These are mobile accessible.
Okay.
One of the other aspects that we take as a learning opportunity with this smaller process is that those forms that bounce back due to inactive emails or incorrect emails, our staff have been able to connect with those specific school sites to say, this family's email is no longer valid, or this family's email is listed incorrectly, let's fix it. And so it gives us that opportunity to clean our data as well. Okay, so moving on, please. This is an exciting initiative. As we have reported in the past, our district has several schools that have achieved PBS Gold or PBS Silver. And this happens because staffs, classified staff, certificated staff, administrators across the district believe in the PBIS system, implement systematic changes, look at data, look at reasons why things are happening, look at create goals based on data, recheck those goals, and they meet certain thresholds. This last week, or a couple of weeks ago, we were notified that HDLA, RSS, and Sura Vista achieved the gold status for PBIS, and we have other schools as well that have either gold or silver status. And I'm highlighting Sura Vista, although they're all worthy of being highlighted, right? But Sura Vista is going to have a mini showcase. This is tomorrow. The board is invited. This is optional from 10 to 12. Sura Vista staff will share their journey as to how they implemented PBIS. Those that attend will be able to see PBIS in action, and they'll be able to interact and just look at what Sura Vista has done. I would like to thank Emma Veltri, who works very hard with a lot of things in the district, but this is one of the tasks that she is assigned to, PBIS. She is the perfect person for this, and she truly believes and exemplifies what PBIS is. Every time I see her, I think about that, and this is one of those examples that just remind me it takes a team. You know, it takes teams at the school sites, but there's also somebody here at the district office that's dedicated to make sure that we're on board, or we're doing PBIS diligently. If we have any questions, she can answer them and help support. If we can move forward. So Sura Vista celebrated last week, I believe, and this was a picture that was taken. As you can see, you have staff from teaching staff to custodial staff to office staff to admin staff. They're all in this picture because they all participate, and as happy as they look, they are genuinely happy about their PBIS process. They believe it, and when we look at their data, we can see the difference that it makes in their students. So kudos to the Sura Vista Sharks. Move forward. We also have a situation this year that's pretty unique. Our community pantry notified us in July, our director of student nutrition that we will now have a charge for the donations that we had received in the past for free. So we started to think about how can we pay for this charge to keep the school pantries up and running in a sustainable fashion. So Mr. Rivas at Sunny Slope, he is one of the most energetic folks out there. He started to think about what can he do, and he said, I'm gonna get a donation. The next time I saw him, he said, I'm waiting for the check, I got it. And then he let me know the check is here. One of his families, and I'm not sure if they wanted their name to be released, so I just said the family's generosity. In the future, if we can confirm that they would like to be recognized, I would like to invite them to the board meeting, because they will fund the pantry for the entire school year. The pantry is up and running, and that is just great, you know, in this day and age when we don't get a lot of positive news out there. This is one of those ones that I do want the public to know. We have a family that was concerned about the pantry, and they donated out of the generosity of their heart to open it up. So the Sunny Slope Pantry is up and running. And this will be a short video. This is about R.O. Hardin. R.O. Hardin has been on a journey, and this is one of those journeys that takes not only the administrators to believe in, but also the staff. Not only certificated staff, but also classified staff, working together, being courageous, being willing to learn, being willing to implement, to make changes in how they approach their literacy. We've talked about R.O. Hardin, and we've had trustees visit R.O. Hardin. We've had teams from other states visit R.O. Hardin. We've had teams from Sacramento visit R.O. Hardin. And this is an example of R.O. Hardin yet again being recognized, rightfully so, through the Chartwell Teaching Institute. This short video spotlights R.O. Hardin staff, and I'd like to share it tonight because they are worthy of being recognized. And congratulations to our principal, Lidia Espinosa, and her staff for being on, highlighted in this video. If we can play it, please.
Hi friends, you ready to get started? Okay, we're gonna get started with a warm-up. I'm gonna say a word, and I want you to tell me what the first sound is that you hear in the word, and you can do it with me.
Join us, the Chartwell Teaching Institute, for a day of literacy coaching at R.O. Hardin Elementary School in Hollister, California.
So today I'm going to start off in Martha's kindergarten classroom, and I'm going to do a demo lesson with one of her small groups. And I know that they are on a lesson covering uppercase R and the new red word put. And then we'll get to also see a little bit about how the classroom works together as a whole, where we have small groups of instruction happening at the same time.
Up and run to the park. What? This is the word put. Like, put your shoes on. We're gonna think about how many sounds we hear in the word put. Can you show me your tapping fingers? So we're gonna read the sentence and we're gonna look out for the word put. T-H-E-Y spells they. Later on, I'm going to do another demo lesson in Avery's second grade classroom, and we'll be focusing on compound words. And for that lesson, I'm really wanting to work side by side with Avery, where I'm demoing and then having her get her hands on it as well. You got this.
Let's put it together though, okay? Bob, cat, Bob, cat.
And then you'll give a feedback form, right,
Yeah,
to the
we have
teachers.
an observation feedback form where we can mark off the elements of structured literacy that they're implementing and what practices that they're using that support multisensory learning, and it'll be a tool that they can refer back to later on.
The feedback forms, those go directly to the teachers.
So I think that it's important for them to know that this is not evaluative, but rather their own professional growth. And ultimately, it helps the progress of students moving towards becoming proficient readers.
I took notes on everything, and of course you don't do every single thing in every lesson, and that's fine. So the part that I want to highlight here is the vocabulary development. An example of that would be the bobcat. Talking about what a bobcat is, Molly had them circle the bobcat on the page so that to incorporate that visual. And then also, backpack. And then you went around and asked them to use their own language. What color is your backpack? Right. Overall, I thought you did such a wonderful job. It's so obvious that you have such a good relationship with them. Do you have any questions for us?
So I mentioned this to Molly, but a big struggle that I have is finding a good place to introduce new concepts.
I think that's the part of where going beyond the manual is really important, and like using your creative side of teaching and bring in hand motions or other visuals to make it a little bit more engaging. Okay. Later on in the day, I'm also going to have the opportunity to observe Nikki, who is one of your literacy specialists, and I know she's been dying for some feedback too, so I'm excited to see her teach, and I know she's awesome.
CTI has been amazing. I mean, the strengths that you just honored me with wouldn't be here if it weren't for CTI. And the nice thing is too that like if we have a question, we're always able to email or send a message somehow and say, how do I do this? And it's been wonderful, and it's made a great impact on my teaching and on my students' learning.
At this point, it's like extra set of eyes
Yeah.
to see, like, and sometimes it's targeting a student, and sometimes it's, what do I do for this student? Because I
Right.
keep doing this.
And this student seems to need something different.
And that's what I think some of these feedback sessions are
Yeah.
like, where it's not it's not negative feedback. We're just kind of like brainstorming ideas and kind of coming together to really collaborate in a new way.
Kudos to our Horton staff for making it to the Chartwell Teaching Institute. They use this to promote the program, to show R.O. Horton as a success story. Part of implementing a program and part of working with students that perhaps don't have support at home or have language deficiencies or second language learners, whatever the situation may be, is that you don't see the growth happen immediately. And that has been the beauty here, that the staff continues to implement the strategies. They don't give up. It might not translate into scores. However, the consistency is there and the approach is there, so that when that foundation is laid, we will see scores increase. And that takes time. That takes time. So kudos to all the staff. I thought it would be nice to share that with you. Yes. The last slide I have is that, in case somebody was wondering, there is a school recess next week, September 29th through October 3rd. I wish everyone a safe break, our students a safe break, and do you have any questions for me, board?
I want to say one thing that a former principal used to say to us. You take the kids at the pace that they're on, and then you move from there. And so with R.O. Hardin, they take the pace that the kids are on, and then they move them from where they are. And so, some of them didn't have a lot of literacy to begin with, and so they take the page from where they are and they move them on. So you can't look at test scores, is what I'm trying to say. And as they get older in the schools, then it'll pay off.
Yes. And R.O. Hardin, like all of our schools, as soon as you walk onto the campus, you see staff genuinely caring for students, wanting to make lessons interesting. It is just such a neat place to see and to visit. And you find that at all of our schools in a different way. Each culture of each school is different. But R.O. Hardin has a uniqueness to it that their staff have come to the board meetings in the past to advocate for the students. And that is something that I think about when I walk onto the campus. They don't give up. They continue and they strive to do the best that they can for the students, and they have been recognized by Chartwell Institute, so that's phenomenal. Great job. Yeah. Item 14.
Okay, item 14, let's move on now. We have, to the right page, we need a motion to approve our consent items, A through, goodness gracious,
W. I make a motion to approve consent items 14A through W.
Second?
Roll call vote, trustee Toasty?
Aye.
Trustee Rios?
Aye.
Trustee Martinez?
Aye.
Trustee Grist? Aye. And I'm an aye as well, motion carries. Moving on now to item number 15, approval of the board meeting minutes from August 26th, 2025. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the board meeting minutes for August 26th, 2025.
Second?
Roll call vote, trustee Toasty?
Aye.
Trustee Rios?
Aye.
Trustee Martinez?
Aye.
Trustee Grist?
Aye.
And I'm an aye as well, motion carries. Moving to agenda item 16, we have discussion and action items. A is consideration and approval of board policy and administrative regulation updates.
Thank you, board members. It's a light list this time around, however, we are revisiting for a second reading independent study board policy and administrative regulation 6158. The superintendent and I spent some time with both her notes and the recording of the board meeting in order to try and capture everything that was said by board members and suggestions. We think that we've got those in there. And the other ones are directly from CSBA. There, like I said, there's not a lot of big stuff in there, and there was a lot going on this month. So next month, I'll give you a bunch to look at.
Okay, do we have any discussion?
I only have one, and it doesn't have to do with what was written here, but I do think that we need a new form to put together. The one that she just talked about.
The independent study form?
Yeah, that the form that the teachers are gonna fill out, it's gonna have to be different, and you said it's already been changed, but I think it needs to be changed to fit this, that's all.
So the independent study contract, we talked about how in the past couple of years, the district has revamped it based on audit findings. We've tried to make it so that it would pass the sniff test for an audit, because that is really the key. So that is the recommendation for
So that
trustee
just to make
Gris, so
sure
that
that
it includes the
form,
language.
yes, that the
So
form follows.
2 years ago, we had it also reviewed by legal counsel.
Okay.
So perhaps with this update in BPAR 6158, we could send this and the form again and make sure that we've got
Yeah.
everything in it.
That's my only suggestion.
Okay. It's gonna be a long, ugly
I know.
thing anyway, because there's all of the things that we need to make sure that people are aware of when they sign
Right,
it.
I understand. Yeah. But that was my only, the form.
If I were to make a comment, I appreciate the work that the two of you did, to go over that and make it clearer for me, because I know last month I was not real clear on some things, so thank you.
And that's okay. These are, I will reiterate, and I've told you this before, these are your board policies and your administrative regulations, and you represent the public. If you don't feel it's clear, that's what I bring these to you for. I can tell you what CSBA recommends, and, you know, go ahead and take some ownership of it and make some suggestions if you feel it's necessary. So we don't mind at all.
Okay, any more discussion? Okay, do we have a motion to approve the board policy and administrative regulation updates?
I'll make a motion that we approve the, administration, administration regulation updates.
And board policy.
And board policy.
Second. All right, roll call vote. Trustee Tosti?
Aye.
Trustee Rios?
Aye.
Trustee Martinez?
Aye.
Trustee Gris?
Aye.
And I'm an aye as well. Motion carries. Moving to item number 16B, consideration and action on approval of provisional internship permits for 25-26 school year. Ms. Villalone?
Thank you very much. Good evening. So this next item on the agenda pertains to the consideration of approval of the provisional internship permits, the PIPs, for this school year. So every year we bring these to you on behalf of the teachers who are either entering their credential program or they're trying to finish up the last of their requirements to move on to their university intern credential or their preliminary teaching credential. So that's the purpose of the PIP, and back in June, you approved the declaration of need that goes to the Commission on Teacher Credentialing, the CTC, thank you, by the way. So when you approve that, then that gets sent off to the CTC to notify them to be on standby, because then our next step is to send them the applications on behalf of teachers who are in need of the PIP. This is a stepping stone for the teachers who are working really hard to get their credentials and stay with us. So I'm looking at the list of names here. You have them also as part of the agenda item. These are all multi-subject teachers ranging from TK all the way up to 7th grade multi-subject. And they're all multi-subject this time. So once you consider and approve these names and these particular folks for their PIPs, then we can, as an HR team, send this off to the CTC and get the issuance of those of those permits. Do you have any questions?
Questions? No? Okay, do I have a motion to approve 16B?
I make a motion that we approve the PIP, internship permits as written.
Okay, and a second?
Second.
Okay, roll call vote. Trustee Tosti?
Aye.
Trustee Rios?
Aye.
Trustee Martinez?
Aye.
Trustee Grist?
Aye.
And I'm an aye as well. Motion carries. Thank you. Moving on to 16C, and after we have our presentation and our discussion, we have a speaker card.
Yes, we do
Okay,
have a
so-
speaker for 16C.
Okay, let's first, you're gonna do this?
I will.
Okay.
So tonight, for item C, we have, this is a long title. We have the discussion and approval of the tentative agreement, including the AB 1200, the public disclosure, with the CSEA, including the CSAP, and I'll explain what that is, Memorandum of Understanding, and the Boost Memorandum of Understanding between, again, the Hollister School District and the Classified School Employees Association, Chapter 625, which is our local chapter. I will briefly share some of the highlights of the tentative agreement. CSEA and the district team met a few times, and we have concluded negotiations for the 25-26 school year. In the tentative agreement, we have come to an agreement for Article 12, which is compensation. We will be, if the board approves the items tonight, and these items were also ratified by the unit yesterday, I believe. So there's a 2% retroactive compensation increase to July 1st, 2025. The increase will occur in October 2025, and the retro payment will be issued in January 2026. Also, should another employee group receive an ongoing increase that is greater than this to their salary schedule for the 25-26 fiscal year, the difference would be paid to the members of the CSEA as an ongoing across-the-board increase to the salary schedule. We also are looking at a 0.5% one-time bonus for unit members that were employed July 1st, 2025 through December 31st, 2025. This payment will be paid in the January 2026 supplemental pay warrant. And I want to correct myself, that 0.5% one-time bonus was for staff that worked last school year, and that's based on their base pay. In moving on to Article 2, we also made some corrections or some edits to the job titles, and they're specifically listed there in the agenda. Also, the recognition article, which is Article 22, we made the contract effective through 27-28, so it will end June 30th, 2028. When we move into and each article has more detailed information that's in the agenda there. When we move into the Memorandum of Understanding for the Classified School Employees Summer Assistance Program, which is what I referred to earlier as CSAP, we agreed to a one-year pilot. So what this is that it's a benefit for employees that work less than 12 months and that meet a certain income eligibility and that fall within certain job classifications, I would say, that are within these calendars, 11 months or less. Staff will have the opportunity to opt into reserving part of their pay up to 10% for that school year, and the state has a program that would issue a percentage match. So when we think about this will take place more than a year from now, because we have to look at the 26-27 school year. It will be in that summer where staff will receive what they have reserved up to 10%, plus what the state has matched. And the benefit is that some of these positions are the positions that earn the least in our district. They are the positions that potentially staff have to obtain a second job, and so on. So this is a pilot program, and CSEA was interested in this. We worked out some of the details, and the implementation will go through. There's timelines attached to this. Staff will be notified at a specific time when for enrollment. Yes, thank you. The last MOU includes the BOOST program. What that is building opportunities and offering support of teams. This is the sister program to NEST. And this will be the first time that we implement something like this for our classified staff. It is a support program. We want to increase the opportunities for staff to build capacity and to stay in our district. We know that we have a lot of talented staff, both in certificated and classified. BOOST is for classified. So we're very proud to launch this program. We will be focusing in on instructional assistants and paras to begin. My dream would be to expand it to all classifications, but we have to start somewhere. So we will be moving forward with that. Are there any questions from the board? I know we have a public comment.
I think it's a good start. I think it's I hope that we build upon this and our people gain skills and stay with us and make a really good living. We do have,
I have one.
Oh, okay.
I think for me, being a classified employee, and I think the fact that we came to this agreement with the CSAT to show our employees, that we value them, that we care, I think was a huge step on the district's part in doing this in good faith and to give the opportunity of this state program that the state, took upon themselves to see the need of, for classified workers, and knowing that, most of them don't always get a summer job for the district that they work for, just because there isn't enough to go around for everyone that's employed. And so I think this financial gap support that that the employee contributes and the state, matches, to some degree, whether it's 50, 60, 70% of that match, I think is a good thing. And I think our folks are gonna be very appreciative once we do this. I think it's gonna be very fruitful for us. And I'm very proud that we're doing this for our people. And then the BOOST too, I think the fact that we're able to find leaders within each category to step up and show their ability and be that mentor for someone coming in that's new and showing them the ropes. I think coming into a classified position, we just generally just plop them there and it's like, figure it out. And having this is just like what we do with NEST. We don't just throw a teacher in a classroom and tell them, figure it out. We don't, we care and develop them through these programs and through the NEST. And I love the fact that we are doing something for classified to help build the ranks and just, that the morale, the ability, I think, that gives them the confidence that to showcase what they can do and just their ability to grow within the district. I think this is an amazing opportunity as well. I'm very proud of the work that you guys did and the two programs that came out this year.
I've always seen the value of mentoring programs. And I would love for us to get to the point that everybody that works for our district has a mentor. And we have a mentor, the board has a mentor, and we value those sessions.
Yes. Yeah.
Teaching us and training us how to be a good board. And I'm really proud of us putting this together. I'm excited for it.
Kudos to the staff.
Yes,
Kudos to the
absolutely.
staff
So
for
you
putting
called
this
that the
together.
speaker card?
Yes, is it Adela?
Yes.
Ruiz?
Yes.
Good evening, board members, Superintendent Sanchez, and audience members. On behalf of our CSE members, we want to thank you for considering our TA that includes our Classified School Employee Summer Assistance Program, known as the CSAP. And most of you already took my speech here, so
Sorry.
I'm just gonna wing it now. As stated before, it is a state matching program that benefits our eligible members that are 11 months and under. It is a $1, it matches up to $1 per dollar. So that's important to know, because most of our members, as stated, we have yard duties, student nutrition workers, secretaries, paraprofessionals, instructional aides, I mean, I can go on and on, that don't have the opportunity to work summer school or get a second job or anything like that. This is just an excellent program for them. It helps them to buy their kids' school clothes, or make an extra payment, or put that money away for Christmas. Hey, you know, everybody wants some Christmas money. So I'm very proud of our negotiations team, who has really fought for years for this program to come here, and I'm very proud of the district for allowing us to have the pilot program, because it will be the first CSAP program in San Benito County. So I'm very proud of that. We worked very diligently. We fought a good fight for a good cause. And I'm just really proud of everybody here. I'm very grateful, and I just don't have any more words to say. Can you believe that? That never happened. So thank you again for consideration of passing this, as well as the Boost program, as mentioned. I think those two will help also retain. As we talked about, we need paras, we need instructional aides, we need custodians, we need those folks here. And so some of this will help for us to retain those kind of positions. Thank you.
Okay, any more discussion? Yes.
I just want to make a comment from what I understand of the negotiations. I appreciate that there really seems to have been true negotiations over especially the summer program. And I just think that was in the spirit of doing what's right. And so I appreciate both sides really coming and negotiating it. Thank you.
Okay, any more discussion? Okay, do I have a motion to approve item 16C?
I make a motion that we approve the tentative agreement, including the AB 1200, the CSAP Memorandum of Understanding, the Boost Memorandum of Understanding between the Hollister School District and CSEA Chapter 625.
And go ahead.
I'll second.
Okay, roll call vote. Trustee Tosti?
Aye.
Trustee Rios?
Aye.
Trustee Martinez?
Aye.
Trustee Grist? Aye. And I'm an aye as well. Motion carries. Moving on now to item 16D, discussion and approval of the 24-25 unaudited actuals report. Ms. Wilson?
Good evening again, board members. So, things that are different before I get into this. We have in the past had to call a special board meeting for this item. And the County Office of Education informed us that as long as we delivered our report to them by the due date, which is the 15th of September, that we could take it to the board at any time that worked for the board. So we're happy that we don't have to have a special board meeting, as I'm sure you are.
Yes.
You're very welcome. It's the little things we can do. So our unaudited actuals report tonight is different from the last 4 reports that you've seen. And that is because all of our reports up to this point have been budget. Here's our budget calendar. You see this every time we have a state mandated report. And we look at budget throughout the year. We'll come to you with a budget essentially 5 times a year. That 5th time is when we're adopting the next year's budget, but it has our estimated closing budget on it. This is what really happened. This is what our auditors are going to audit. So while they care about the budget, they care about how we spent our money and did we follow all of the rules that are attached to that money that we're spending, and have we reported everything correctly. So that's the basis for our audit report at this point. So moving on to the unaudited actuals, we take this in chunks, and so this is a analysis of our unrestricted revenue. And in the past, I have given you the previous budget with the current budget. This time, because it was so significant, I'm giving you the adopted budget at the beginning of the year with where we ended up at the end of the year. Now, if you remember, a budget is a roadmap. How do we think we're going to get from point A to point B? Point A being the first day of school, point B being the last day of school, and making sure that all of our kiddos stay on the bus, stay on the road, we get them where they need to be, and we have accomplished those goals that we wanted to do. So are we going to get to Gilroy by going 156, or are we going to go through Casa de Fruta because it's a really pretty drive? That's the budget. The actuals is we're at the outlet malls, and this is how we got here. So as we're looking at our revenue, we had initially thought that we were going to have adopted revenue of $53,900,000. That included LCFF revenue of almost $69 million, some other state revenue, primarily lottery, and a little bit of local revenue, and then our contributions to restricted programs come out of that. By the time we ended the year, we were at $57,880,000, a difference of almost $4 million. The biggest part of that difference is the growth in our student population, the attendance initiatives that we have put into place and we have partnered with the high school district, and the continued efforts to identify any of our unduplicated students, because that also gives us additional money. So from all of those efforts throughout the year, from where we thought we were going to be to the time we ended up bringing that revenue up by $3.3 million. Other state revenue, which is lottery and a few other miscellaneous things, there's not really a whole lot of change there. And I bring your attention to that because we thought we were going to get here, and this is where we ended up. It's maybe not exactly the parking place we thought we were going to get the mall, but we are in front of, I don't know, Ultimate Beauty. You know, because that's where we wanted to be. Other local revenue. Now this one's an odd one. If you can remember from previous conversations, and going back a couple of years, the interest earned in this county has been abysmal. Yeah. Even to the point where at one year we ended up with, if you can believe it, negative interest income.
Ridiculous.
It is ridiculous. So we budgeted very little interest income so that we didn't have a plan that was going to overextend what we could do with that. And each time an interim came, we adjusted that interest income up to the money that had actually been collected, because that's the safest way of doing it. Well, by the time we get to the end of the year, there are 2 quarters worth of interest that needs to be added in. That's how far behind the county treasury and the county office are in getting things. And honestly, a lot of that has to do with the county treasury. I think that they're understaffed and overworked over there. But we have 2 quarters worth of interest income that comes in. In addition to that, because there was so much interest income, as a result of the investments that have been done at the county treasurer's office, we now have a fair market value adjustment on our investments. Okay. That fair market value adjustment, which is just on the books. We don't get to spend it. We will never actually see it until they sell some of that, and then there's some gains and losses and it'll show up in interest. But it's the way they invest the money on a rotating basis. $871,000. That's sort of a phantom revenue. I don't want you to think that that's going to be something that's going to come in every year. It's a number, and next time we do our unedited actuals, they'll look at the investments And maybe that phantom number will go down and maybe it'll go up. It really depends on where the county investments are. The interest is real money, $829,000 of additional interest income from where we adopted the budget. But think about if we thought that was gonna come in and didn't come in. And I say that because this board, and I appreciate it, has supported the fact that the administration is trying to be conservative, because $800,000 is a lot of money to have to try and find in order to plug a hole. We will continue to be conservative on our interest income. Our adopted budget this year continues to have a low amount of interest income, and we'll watch it, and every time we bring an interim, we will be adjusting it at that point, until we really have any kind of a solid trend as to where this interest is going to be. That's really the best approach in order to make sure that we are not spending beyond our means.
A question?
Yes, ma'am.
And I don't know if it's not appropriate, you can say no.
You know I will.
How do we protect our monies when the county is in deficit spending?
Those two, that's a good question, but they really are two different things. Okay, the county governance is deficit spending. The county auditor treasurer, who has the responsibility to take all governmental funds within this county, is not the same thing as the county itself deficit spending. The county auditor treasurer operates a fiduciary fund for each one of those government entities that are in there. We are one of those government entities. Aroma San Juan, God bless them, if they had a fire department anymore, they would be an entity. We have cemetery districts, that's a government entity. All of those have got money that's invested in the county auditor treasurer, and so they are not exactly your Fidelity Mutual, but they are working in that trust relationship where their responsibility is to take those funds and make sure that there is liquid money there when our bills come through.
Is there another party that oversees? I mean, do we have somebody protecting us?
Well, one of the things that we have protecting us is quarterly we will bring you the county investment report.
Okay.
Part of our responsibility as one of those entities, your responsibility as a board when you get it, is to take a look at that and ask questions and have commentary if you need to. There is, excuse me, within the last couple of years, they have gotten, I believe they are also working with some investment advisors to make sure that the entire county is getting on their investments the best bang for their buck.
Right.
So that has turned this around from about 3 or 4 years ago, 5 years ago, when our interest was negative, to where we are right now.
Okay.
So they're not doing it in a vacuum. They are seeking out professional guidance as they do it. But when the quarterly investment report comes through, take a look at it. It tells you what our return on investment is, what our most liquid cash is, and what our longer term investments are at a county level, not at the district, because they pool all of those funds.
Yeah.
The other thing that you need to know is we don't have a choice as to where we put our money.
Right, I know that too.
We are required to put the bulk of our money with the county treasurer.
Right.
So we trust in their expertise and the advisors that they're using, but we do not have a choice as to where we put that. We can't decide to put it in Bank of America. So
can we recommend?
you can recommend all you want, but it's actually in government code that this is why we're required to put it there. That's why we don't have a choice. If we had some other savings types of funds, smaller amounts, non-liquid cash, non-business, we need to pay bills every day, we need to have money coming in, but maybe some extra money that we wanted to invest, there are places we could invest those, but this is our operating money and it's required to go in there.
Mm-hmm. Okay, well, thank you.
You're welcome. So the other adjustment from where we thought we were going to be at adoption to where we are at the end of the year is the contributions to restricted programs. That is typically the contribution to routine restricted maintenance and to special ed programs. Those went up by $314,000. But if I can remind you of our board meeting where we looked at the audit report, there was an audit finding in that audit report for an insufficient number of minutes in the 22-23 school year. The auditor disclosed in there the potential penalty. Now, the district is going to fight that and have asked to appeal that finding. We are still waiting to hear from the state. It could take about a year to a year and a half. They work at the pace of government. But they are aware, and we have prepared the documentation in order to present to them what our appeal would be. And essentially, the basis of our appeal is we shouldn't be penalized for the 3 days that were short by 7 minutes for the entire district for all of our children, when in fact, those schools that may have been short for those 3 days, which were the extra early Thursdays, if you look at their instructional minutes for the entire year, they had more than the required amount of instructional minutes. So we had a clerical error, but we didn't short the kids the required number of minutes, and in fact, we offered and provided them more than what was required. So that's going to be the basis of our appeal. However, we can't hope. And so that, again, with a very conservative approach, so that we make sure that if we are not successful, that money is readily available to write the check. Right. We have put it over and it still remains in the unrestricted, or in the general fund, but it's in a restricted program that is clearly marked with the ed code for that penalty. The superintendent and I discussed whether or not, this would be a good idea to leave it in fund balance. When you look at your fund balance and the decisions that you make, you think you can spend that. We don't want you to think that you can spend it until we have been successful in our audit appeal. And at that point, it will come back over because this is where it belongs. Or if we meet them in the middle somewhere and we get a partial penalty, because we did have a clerical error, and it is our responsibility to be on top of those things. Whatever does not have to go back to the state will come back into the general fund, and we will bring it to the board to let you know the resolution of that audit appeal, which will include whatever's left with this.
Right.
Okay? Any questions on revenue before I move on?
Yeah, perfect.
So, unrestricted salary and benefits. And I'm really pretty excited about this. Where did we think we were going to be at the beginning of the year, and where did we end up the year? Now, there's some pretty decent numbers in there, but we also gave raises this year. Okay? At the beginning of the year, we didn't know that we were going to give the raises that we thought we were going to make, and those things have happened during the year. So 1.5% increase for all groups. We had to hire new staff for the 134 new students that we had. So there are staffing costs that would have been added after year end when our enrollment actually showed up, and then we had to get teachers for those students. Our substitute costs are over budget. It happens. It wasn't COVID, but we have more staff who are still entitled to their 10, 11, or 12 days of sick leave during a year. And so our substitute costs are a little bit over, and we will adjust that and our assumptions for that as we go into first interim for the current year. Retiree benefits. At the cusp of the year after the budget was adopted, the board approved retiree incentive program similar to what was offered to the other two groups for HALC. And so we picked up the resolution of one teacher being able to qualify for this and one HALG member, and so that's what these retiree benefits are. It's a combination of the incentive plus the benefits that were added for all of the retirees that we had.
How much do we spend for all of our retiree benefits, the gap between the 62 and 65?
I will get that information to the superintendent, and she can share it with you at her next communication with you. Health and welfare, budgeted but not used. There are some people in this district who are covered by plans of their spouse. There are also people in this district that get a discount for both of their spouses working for this district and qualifying for a dual insured discount. Well, when we run position control, we assume that all people who are entitled to benefits will get benefits, and therefore that cost is in there. As they do what they do, and we match those, for instance, dual insured, or we find out that somebody's going to waive because they're covered somewhere else, there is some savings, but we leave that in there because benefits fluctuate. We also project benefits for a certain level of classified employee who does not always take those benefits, because benefits, even with a partial cap, are still fairly expensive. So we have some savings there. And because we don't always know where our substitutes are gonna come from, we do project STRS and PERS on substitutes. So we have a little bit of savings there. All in all, the total cost of our unrestricted salary and benefits from where we were at adoption to where we finished up the year with actual expenditures is up by 2.7%. That's really pretty good out of a $52, $53 million budget. So I'm really excited at that. We ended up in front of Ulta Beauty and we're hanging on to chicken nuggets.
Hey, I thought that, we weren't allowed to opt out.
If you are covered somewhere else and you're not a teacher, you can opt out because your spouse is covered. All teachers have to be covered because they're all full-time. So they don't get to opt out. Now, they can choose a plan that doesn't cost them so much, but it still costs the district's contribution. The district is still paying. So it might not have a net effect on them, but the district still has it. Unrestricted supplies and services. So this one is down a little bit, and part of the down a little bit was to cover some of the up a little bits on the previous category, or on the following category, depending on what it ended up needing to be. So our books and supplies, we have stressed that we will try and use all categorical funds first. It's actually a board policy that says categorical funds will be used whenever possible before accessing unrestricted general funds. And we are using one-time monies and spending up one-time money. So while we will budget at the beginning of the year for a certain level of books and supplies, and most of these are going to be instructional, they are not departmental. If we can move it to a categorical, we will move it to a categorical, and we do the same thing. Same thing with contract budgets. Anything that's in those contracted services area. The utilities were higher than we expected. I think that's a trend. It shouldn't be surprised because utilities do tend to fluctuate. But we had savings in other areas. And then site lottery funds had $200,000 unspent. Now, every site gets a per student allocation, which is allocation out of lottery funds to use as they see fit within their school site. Some school sites spend exactly the right amount of dollars, a few went over a little bit, but all in all for the school sites themselves, there was a savings of $200,000. The only thing that I can attribute that to is potentially we had community schools funds, and those funds were accessed before these funds were, because the school sites don't have any other discretionary money at their disposal. We as a district provide them with all of their staffing and their utilities and all of that. This is their books and supplies, and if they decide they want to go to a conference or they're going to pay for mileage or something, that's what their discretionary money is. In addition, we talked about developer fees and the amount that the district can charge for developer fees as sort of an indirect, but not really an indirect. It goes in as an offset against the 5,000s as an intra-district charge. It's charged there, and it comes in as a negative on our end. So that kind of, in this services and other operating, that kind of helps pull those actual costs down a little bit. Any questions? Okay. Unrestricted transfers. So indirect charges turned out pretty much where we thought we were going to be at adoption. We look at categoricals, we make an estimate as to what they're going to spend during the year, and then we calculate the maximum amount that their categorical will allow to be charged. Now, throughout the year, we got a few more categoricals, we had a few less categoricals, so it's not any particular one. There are several out there that we didn't get to charge indirect on, or the full amount of indirect on, but their monies might have gone up during the year between point A and point B. But only less than a $60,000 swing in that one, and that's a negative swing. In other words, we didn't get as much money as we thought we were going to get. And then transfers to the county, $241,000 to the community schools. That was higher than expected. We weren't thinking we were going to have much of anything in community schools because we don't really refer a lot of students to community schools, and by the end of the year we actually had referred a couple of students to community schools. And remember, this is the difference between where we thought we were going to be at adoption and where we are at the year end. And then transfers to restricted funds, that is $300,000 from the LCAP that goes into the Technology Reserve Fund, and the $45,000 district commitment towards the city contract, every year we have to match the city's contract with $45,000 of our funds.
May I ask a question? So why do we as an elementary district pay into the Pinnacle School, which is a high school, isn't it?
Isn't Pinnacles for our junior high kiddos?
No, it's Santa Ana.
Oh, that is my fault. I answered yes to that question. I was thinking the community school. It's Santa Ana. It's not the high school. It's for our junior high students.
Okay.
When we need to find a placement that is not within our district.
Okay, thank you.
So I apologize for that. That was mine.
But do we not have
Your
a
first
contract?
mistake.
We do have a contract, but we had not transferred a lot of kids to them in the past. And because we can usually find alternatives. Mr. Ward works very hard to keep our kids in our school, but every once in a while there's just not a fit for a kiddo. And so at the beginning of the year, we thought that our commitment to that was going to be lower than it was, and as it turned out, I think we ended up with 3 students over there during the year. So that might have been 2 more than what we had actually planned on. So
that's the cost for 30 students?
It's a county program. They charge us back their costs. That could be a conversation for another time.
Yes, it should be.
Okay, any other questions on transfers before I move on? Okay, so here's a summary of the unrestricted reserve. And so we ended up at the end of the year in the green column with revenue of $57.9 million and expenses of $56.7 million and an increase to our fund balance of $1.2 million. Again, there's a lot of different reasons for that. Our school sites, I think, are taking the responsibility of their funding and their spending to heart, and the district is been maintaining a very conservative approach. If you want to increase a budget here, you have to identify where you're going to be decreasing a budget. LCAP also helped a lot in that. That's the $3.3 million swing in there. So the breakdown of the changes breakdown of the balances in fund balance, unrestricted. We'll circle back to that, Jen, because I can read the question that's in your head right now. 2 slides, please. Is $7.7 million. The LCAP reserved at the end of the year, the amount that came out of the LCAP for supplemental and concentration grant funds that was not spent is up by $220,000 from where we thought we were going to be at adoption. That's really not bad. That goes to, we were able to do what we planned to in our LCAP, and we did have some expanded services, and we're able to address some additional needs that were in there with the additional money that we got, and still ended up with an increasing amount of that fund balance. That, I think, is good positioning as we go into our CEP year 1 next year. Because if you remember when we had CEP year 1 2 years ago, our unduplicated pupil count did a dive, and then we've been working up. That dive is on a 3-year average of our funding. We need a buffer in order to continue the programs that the district has identified as important for our unduplicated pupil count. So I think we've positioned ourselves fairly well as we go forward into that. Lottery fund balance, we used $374,000 spent down on that. There's a lot of reasons for that. We deficit spend in lottery. We also use lottery for a lot of things that aren't school site related. If we identify additional instructional materials needs, we try and go there if we can't go to some of our restricted funds. Some trainings end up coming out of lottery rather than coming out of other places, if they're appropriate for that. And so lottery is one of those places that we've got some flexibility on spending, and it had $1 million at the beginning of the year. We thought it was going to have $1 million, and it has $600,000 at the end of this year. Lottery funding is going to continue to go up. We have more kiddos, so I think we can maintain it. Right now it's set pretty well balanced. But with the growth in our student population, by the time we get to first interim, school sites are going to get more money. We withhold about 10% for fluctuations in growth. I think everybody went up this year, so everybody's gonna get a little bit more money. And then finally, the non-spendable, which is really just revolving cash. Lottery makes up about 10% of our reserve requirement. Okay, we have a 3% requirement, and the board policy has a 10%, a total of 10%. So lottery makes up about 10% of that requirement that we reserve at the end of every year. We treat LCAP as if it's a categorical, and we roll those over, and we have to keep maintaining that balance as we go forward. So let's talk about lottery, LCAP, just really quickly. These are the expenditures by goal that we did in this prior year. A total of $11.6 million of LCAP expenditures with revenue of 11.2. Prior fund balance of 1.6, so we did deficit spend, but we maintained our programs. And we ended up a little bit higher than we thought we were going to. Any questions on that one? Okay. And because the board has wanted to see a summary of what's going on in restricted funds, this is all the categoricals that are not unrestricted, lottery, or LCAP. So that money is based on federal and state grants and entitlements. They will go up or they will go down, in various years. The other thing that happens at year end is depending on the type of revenue, we may have received that $1.7 million negative in state revenue, but because it's a grant, we have to show it as deferred. It's not really recognizable revenue in this current year. And so we will go and add it to the budget as we roll into this year and record carryovers. Carryovers are the primary reason why at adopted we thought we were going to be decreasing fund balance by $600,000, and we spent almost $5 million down in the fund balance of categoricals. That is a normal thing. They carry over balances, whether it's deferred or it's in fund balance. We record those carryovers after adoption and after the unaudited actuals have been completed, and then that spending authority ends up being out there. And so there are always these swings, excuse me, in the both the revenue and the expenditures as we're spending down those categoricals. Anything in particular that you have a question on?
Well, the capital outlay.
Capital outlay, that's a great question. That's a capital asset. That number there is the cost of the cubes for this year. Oh. And it's paid for out of the ELOP program. No, it's a great question. You don't normally see that in the general fund. Right. Our capital outlay tends to be over in the funds that we were talking about earlier this evening.
Okay.
So when we adopted the budget, we thought we were going to be farther along in the payment schedule for the cubes, and then we had some hiccups with some permitting, and so we ended up finishing those and paying those in this year when that work was done, and that's why we adopted $420,000, thinking everything was going to be paid the previous year, and actually rolled over and paid for it in this year.
Okay.
Okay. And a reminder of our reserve policy, Board Policy 3100, how they're calculated, what's excluded. You've seen this several times before. I present this every time so that we can keep the eye on the ball as to where our reserves are. And then this next one is Jan's slide. And it is the reserve balances. So you've got unrestricted and restricted presented side by side. The beginning balance in those, the increase or the decrease in their fund balances. The restricted we spent down. The unrestricted, we ended up with some additions to it. The non-spendable, the LCAP, and the categorical reserves, we take those off of the top. And then we can talk about what the district's reserve percentage is. And right now we've got a reserve for economic uncertainties. The required 3% is 3.1, almost $3.2 million. And the balance, because we're not at 10%, goes to committed for Board Policy 3100. That's the one that 10% of that number is coming from lottery. So at this point, we have a reserve balance of $7.9 million. Now you might be asking yourself, hey, we did so much better than we did last year. 7.9%. Excuse me, 7.9%. It's a long day. You might be asking yourself, well, But we had an increase in our fund balance. How come that number isn't larger? Going back to the previous slide, the calculation for our reserve percentage is what's the total amount that was spent on both sides of those? And you take all of those expenditures and any of the transfers out, and you apply 3% to that to get our reserve for economic uncertainties. That's also where you get what the cost of 1% is. So as those expenditures go up, we can have those expenditures go up and still maintain that same fund balance because we just end up with a little bit of extra. So if those expenditures go down and everything else stays the same, our reserve percentage will go up. If those expenditures go up and everything else stays the same, our reserve percentage goes down. So we just managed to keep equilibrium. The percentage from last year was a little bit more than 7.9%. And this is the one that we really only look at unaudited actuals because everything else is planning. This is where we really are. Okay, so we're getting there.
We're still not there.
We're still not there. But we are trying, and there's a lot of effort that's going into getting there.
And think about where we were. That's the big thing. Think about where we were. And we've grown this with Beth's help.
Well, it's everybody. It's this entire team. And, you know,
And
over
your
the
site administrators.
It's site administrators, exactly. It's bargaining team members. We managed to give increases in salaries this year, albeit maybe not as large as some people wanted, but we have maintained stability, which makes it easier to go forward and have additional conversations later.
Well, $8 million, now, how much is our payroll in 1 month?
Oh, you would ask me that question. I didn't bring that number. It's probably close to about 2.5%, so a little bit less than $3.1 million.
So we have 2 months of pay? So that's how you have to look at it?
You're looking at that as fund balance and not cash.
Oh, yeah.
Kind of a little bit different.
Okay, but I'm just trying to think, you know, so people can put an idea to that, because cash is king.
Cash is king. Oh, look at that. Cash is king. You are so well trained. I am so proud of you as a
Little
student.
Steel.
So yes,
That's the first thing she taught me.
There is a difference between fund balance and cash. You can spend cash, but you can't spend fund balance because fund balance is made up of other things. While the state judges us on the 3% reserve and you have set a policy for a 10% reserve, you can have those numbers and no cash. And that's a bigger problem. So our cash is okay, mostly because you saw how much money we have in the bond fund. Now that's not what we would normally do, but we have a requirement to do interfund borrowing in the times of cash crunches. And so cash is not currently our challenge. Our challenge is budget and fund balance and making sure that we remain as conservative as we possibly can for the strength of the entire district.
Yeah, within our means, just like we have to do with our monthly bills, it's the same concept.
Yeah. Well, we don't wanna lay anybody off, that's the biggie.
So if I go back and just, whoops, I'm going the wrong way. Arrows. Right there, the amount that we increased our ending fund balance and unrestricted, $1.1 million. 1.6 of that had to do with interest and the adjustment in fair market value. So, and that's in total. That includes LCAP. So, while we did well, one of those things is unpredictable and the other one is not real. So I just want to remind you of that as well.
Say that one more time.
So the increase in our fund balance on the unrestricted side of $1.1 million is less of an increase than the increase in cash and the increase in fair market value from the first number page. One of those is real, which is cash, but it's unpredictable. It's the interest number. The other one isn't real because it's an accounting number. That was $870,000. So while I think that we as a district can feel proud of the accomplishments we've made, I do want to pace you on that one to not think, oh, we can go nuts. Because we do have those factors that are in there. Now we'll be watching interest, and that fair market value is likely to change. I just don't know which way it's going to go and how much it is. Okay? So cash is king, and at this point, staff recommends that the board approve the unaudited actuals if you have no other questions.
Okay, do I have any more discussion? Okay, do I have a motion to approve 16D?
I'll make a motion that we approve the unaudited actual 16D.
I'll second.
Roll call vote, trustee Toasty?
Aye.
Trustee Rios?
Aye.
Trustee Martinez?
Aye.
Trustee Rios?
Aye.
And trustee Grist?
Aye.
And I'm an aye as well, motion carries. Moving on to 16E, discussion and approval of resolution number 2/25/26 to establish the 24-25 game limit.
So this is one of those custodial things that we have to do every year that doesn't matter to the district, but it's important to the state of California. This calculation that's in here, you've got the resolution, then you have a calculation. The calculation is a component and it is included, and you've seen it in your unaudited actuals. It is generated in that report. What this does is, back in the 70s, Jarvis-Gann initiative came through, limiting the increase in government spending and the increase in property taxes. If one government doesn't spend all of that amount that they could in a year, it can be transferred to the state government, and that's what the state uses this form for. There's no impact whatsoever on the district, and in all of my years working with schools, I have never seen a single district, nor have I known of one, that was impacted by this calculation. We've sent it to the state of California, and then they can increase their spending limitations based on what other places do and do not spend. So we bring this every year because we're required to do it with the unaudited actuals. It has the resolution and the calculation that came out of the unaudited actuals in SACS. And at this point, we would recommend that the board approve the resolution or adopt the resolution.
Alrighty, any discussion? Okay, do I have a motion for 16E?
I make a motion that we approve resolution number 2:25/26 to establish the 24-25 county limit.
I'll second.
Okay, roll call vote, trustee Toasty?
Aye.
Trustee Rios?
Aye.
Trustee Martinez?
Aye.
Trustee Grist?
Aye.
And I'm an aye as well, motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to item 17, board member reports. We'll start with trustee Toasty.
Thank you. I had the pleasure of attending a meeting for the MTSS, and with all of the site admin, it was absolutely wonderful. It was a 2-hour meeting. I've never had a meeting go by so fast. The speakers were great. It was just planned out so well. I encourage every one of us to try to attend one. And this is for the whole child. And this is so important to me because it meets every single entity, of that child. And Sarah Vista had a great little video that they were showing how they do it at their site. And it really gave a true representation of what is going on and how it's done. So I just would love it if, we could all attend one. Also, I went to back to school night for Calaveras. It was really good. All the students were thrilled to be there, the parents, the teachers were really happy. We went through a couple of classrooms. It was very well attended. Also, we had that joint meeting with Hollister High School. And I also had a meeting with Trustee Grist and Hesta, Ethan and Rachel. So, very busy this month.
Thank you. Trustee Rios?
I was not so busy, other than going to Florida for a wedding. But I was supposed to go to an intergovernment committee meeting, and they canceled it again.
Yes.
They cancel them quite often. And I also went to the joint board meeting with Hollister High School, and I thought that was a really good meeting. It was good to hear their experience with their new cell phone policy, how it went over the summer for the pilot. And, you know, I look forward to our discussions here as to what we come up with for our own plan. That was it.
Okay.
Well, I did. I was there too, but she pretty much recapped everything.
We went to the ECE and to Calaveras, looking at the ECE and at R.L. Hardin. We looked at other rooms to see about, you know, what we're gonna do on, since we're out of room at R.L. Hardin and all the building and looking at Go First, what's it called, Go First?
First five.
First five, so we were looking at extra space and ECE and extra space, and it was very interesting, very, very interesting. And then we had the joint meeting, with the high school, and, I just wanna comment that we've been doing it for like 3 years, I guess. It's been very, very successful because the department leaders for the high school and for our district really work well together. And it shows. And they're getting a lot done. And we met with Hesta as well.
I was working on our demographers. This last round of demographer report was excellent, and I compared it against the notes that I have of my own knowledge of subdivisions that are going to be built in Hollister and the areas that they're built in, how many units, etc. And then we get the report. I'm sure you saw it in the Bonita link about the builder's remedy and how that could affect where subdivisions are built, how many are built. And so I attended a meeting about the likelihood of the builder's remedy actually coming into play, and there's so many variables that it's unpredictable, is the conclusion that I came to. So it's going to be interesting. We just all need to keep our eyes open, keep our ears open about which subdivisions are getting approved, where they're going to be, how many units, because the builder's remedy variable can cause some disruption to the demographer's report that we kind of were banking on.
Future agenda items.
Okay, future agenda items, number 18. Anybody? Now, we've been doing a good job of banging out our agenda item list. Do you have anything that, no?
I just, I would like us to look into safety glass, you know, somehow or another protecting our offices and glass that faces out, how we could protect our kids from bullets.
I think I brought that up when we were doing the remodels for like Rancho, that's right by the street, and I think John Talia had mentioned that it was just an expensive.
Well, it's gone down. That was how many years ago? They've got new
when we did all of the the modernization.
That's a long time ago.
Is that something that Ford is interested in us looking into a price quote for? It would be bullet resistant. It wouldn't be bulletproof.
Yeah. Just safety for our staff and our children.
Think about it?
Yeah.
Okay. I would like to think about it. I don't know enough about it to make a decision. Okay. Alrighty. Let's move now to item number 19. Any announcements or reminders? No? Okay, and then we have somebody make a motion to adjourn, please.
I make a motion to.
Go ahead. I'll make a motion to adjourn the meeting. Second.
All in favor?